Number 10. Russell Brand. Even before the controversy surrounding Russell Brand came up this year, this dude was unwelcome at royal events, award shows, birthday parties, anything and everything public. For anyone who doesn't know, I'm sorry to be the one to inform you, Russell Brand is secretly a terrible person. The man known best as a comedian, a bringer of joy, has secretly been manipulative, aggressive, and at times violent with his ex-partners. Following the news that a documentary about his life and career was set to release on BBC Channel 4, several complaints were filed by exes alleging that Russell had mistreated them during their time together. The allegations were actually reinforced by Russell's ex-fiancée, Katy Perry. They dated for over a year and a half, and in that time, she came to learn that Russell was short-tempered, opinionated, and stubborn, qualities that make a man a terrible person. Russell's career was canceled, and he's currently awaiting a trial. Number 9. The Oprah Maui Scandal. Oprah has been claiming to be many things since the Maui backlash has begun. A good boss, a charitable woman, and an advocate for the island of Maui. By starting this fund and donating her spare millions, she's made her mark in the public as a woman who cares so much. So much that she's asking you to give her your money as well. Isn't that nice? Well, not really. The money that she donated turned out to be taxed, so she didn't actually donate anything, and of course, the main issue that people have with Oprah is that she's a billionaire asking average everyday people for money. As I've mentioned in previous videos, Oprah would not care about Maui or its people if she didn't have a vested stake on the island. Oprah has had property in Maui for quite some time, being almost a second home to her. When the fire started raging, she started fundraising. Think about all of the things that have happened in the past few years. We all forgot about Australia being on fire in 2020. Western Canada was on fire earlier this year. Some parts of Florida have been underwater and are still right now. Yet, Oprah has decided to dedicate her time and money to helping out the area where she has a vacation home. Number 8. Colleen Ballinger. Former YouTuber Colleen was accused by several of her young fans as being a creepy creepo who wanted to be their friend. Colleen is best known for her character Miranda Sings on YouTube, who became so popular that she received her own Netflix series. If you want to watch it, I'm sure you will need a VPN or something. It's probably banned in every country. She was basically messaging her fans to deliver so-called advice when she was really trying to just manipulate them into being her little minions. And not the little yellow guys with the glasses, that'd be different. There was a massive amount of proof in the pudding. Fans had screenshots of conversations, with one fan claiming that she actually sent him lingerie as a joke. Oh man, lace underwear, hilarious. Following instant backlash from the world, Colleen decided to post an apology online, which she did, while playing a ukulele. This woman is shown to be weird to everyone, and she thought it was appropriate to go online and sing about it. In response to the cringiest apology of all time, her fans resurfaced a video that really should have gotten her canceled when it first came out. A few years ago, she decided that it would be an awesome idea during one of her live shows to sing and dance to Beyonce's Single Ladies while in blackface. Yeah, it is the roughest clip of Colleen. She's just barefoot on stage, wildly flailing and waving her arms, and nobody at that show is like, that's weird. Yeah, the world's great. Number 7, Jada Pinkett Smith. Cheating rumors and dating scandals have followed Jada and Will Smith throughout their entire relationship. Since day one, people have been convinced that they're in an open relationship or they were cheating on each other on and off. Well, it turns out that some of those rumors were actually true. Ahead of the release of her new book, Worthy, Jada sat down with People magazine to share some inside information. The most revealing was that herself and Will Smith have actually been separated for like 7 years. Now, of course, that's not all. Jada's actually slowly ruining this man's life and mental health. When Jada revealed the truth about her separation from Will, she claimed that by the time they reached 2016, they had become exhausted with trying to make things work. The news of their separation was like a mild shock at best, because Super Sleuth fans claim to have proof Will and Jada have been separated forever, and the proof is in the interviews. The first clip to be submitted as evidence was Will and Jada's Red Table Talk interaction, where she admitted to the entanglement with August Alsina, simultaneously admitting to a brief separation. In the conversation, she literally says that herself and Will had basically broken up, but instead of just telling us right then and there, she decided to hold on to that information for a better time. A lot of Jada fans have commented on the resurfaced clips saying that Will looks drained, like he's clearly dealing with a ton mentally speaking. Now, I could go on and on about how terrible Jada is, but I've done lots of videos about that in the past, so go and check those out. Number 6, Justin Timberlake. One of the most discussed sections of The Woman in Me, a memoir by Britney Spears, is of course the revelation of what really happened while Britney and her Mickey Mouse Club co-star Justin Timberlake were together. After meeting JT in the clubhouse, the two sparked a romantic connection. Their connection was strong, but unfortunately Britney had to make a difficult decision in the year 2000, after she found out she was pregnant. At first, Britney was actually pretty excited about the whole thing. In her book she revealed that she had planned on starting a family with Justin at some point, just that this was going to be a little bit earlier than she expected. Well, turns out Justin was not so excited and told her that they were both too young to be starting a family, continuing to remind her that their careers would also need to be put on pause. The revelation may be part of the reason that Justin has reportedly been so nervous leading up to the book's release, and might be why he's turned his Instagram comments off. Britney revealed that if the decision had solely been left to her, that she would have gone through with the pregnancy, but she decided to go the opposite route instead. She claims to have only done it because Justin so clearly didn't want to be the dad. In the book, she said that looking back, it is one of the most agonizing things she has ever experienced in her life. Number 5, Jonathan Majors. Jonathan Majors is currently the man behind the purple cape of Kang the Conqueror in the MCU. Kang has been written as a very important figure in Marvel. In Ant-Man Quantumania, he was the main antagonist, only he was just acting as a variant of the real antagonist, which was an army of Kangs from across the multiverse. I know, I'm gonna get geeky for a second. Including He Who Remains, a Kang variant from Loki, who once again acted as a major part of the Loki series. Unfortunately for Majors, an ex has come forward and alleged that Jonathan was physically violent towards her while they were together. Since March of this year, Majors and his team have been adamant that the situation is blown out of proportions and that there's nothing to be upset about. In fact, in June, Majors filed his own cross-complaint accusing the accuser. Prosecutors refuted these claims and told him that they had no plans to prosecute Grace Jabari, the woman who accused him. Majors has been dropped from his agency, and so far his role on TV and film is up in the air. Spoiler alert for Loki Season 2. The series ended with Kang not really being He Who Remains anymore, and it's unclear of what's going to actually happen. Now, there have been rumors that his role in the MCU as the big bad will be replaced by Doctor Doom, so we'll see. Sorry if you don't like nerdy stuff, that's just my little tangent. Number 4, Lizzo. Lizzo may have been a public advocate for body positivity, but as part of a lawsuit being brought against her, it seems like all the positivity might have just been an act that she was putting on to make herself more universally loved. Now, I am not a small man. In fact, I have what many people consider to be a dad bod, and hey, I'm cool with that, so I'm not dismissing the notion that we should love and respect ourselves, but she made it a massive part of her personality on camera, and when it sounds like the only body she actually cared about was her own. According to her dancers, Lizzo regularly shamed her team and made them feel like they were too large or gaining weight, with several dancers confirming these claims. One of the dancers, Crystal Davies, who is part of the lawsuit, was actually fired for secretly recording a meeting between herself and Lizzo. The meeting was about the dancer's performance on stage recently, and Lizzo apparently disliking the weight that she had been gaining, claiming that Crystal just wasn't committing to her role. She was also bringing her dancers to strange places and making them do things against their will. Lizzo was at a club in Amsterdam's red light district when she coerced, aka forced, one of her dancers to touch a woman's bare chest, not something that she wanted to do. She also made them eat bananas from some no-no zones that, again, not their idea of fun. Currently, it's still up in the air as to what the outcome will be in this trial, and so far Lizzo is maintaining that she has done nothing wrong and will prove her innocence any day. Number 3, Joe Jonas and Sophie Turner. Joe and Sophie got together back in 2016 after they had been set up by mutual friends, something that they had apparently been trying to do for quite some time. They got together and instantly fell in love, getting married just over a year after getting together. Sophie admitted to Rolling Stones in 2019 that she was hesitant at first because Joe was a big musician, she was a big TV and film star, meaning that most of the time they would be on opposite ends of the world. Eventually, she warmed up and got together with Joe officially. The split came out of nowhere. For the most part, their relationship has seemed to be stable on the outside. They were never a part of cheating scandals, which is surprising considering Joe's lack of discretion. There were never any strange rumors, photos, they were just like a happy couple. As of September 1st, Joe Jonas filed for a divorce from Sophie, with the only current information being that Joe has claimed the relationship is irretrievably broken. Something pretty serious must have gone down in a very short amount of time, because only hours before this announcement, Joe posted a photo of himself on Instagram with his ring on full display. Now, despite the minimal amount of tea spilt so far, we are in for one super messy and public divorce. Things have settled down a bit in the past few weeks, but Sophie was actually just spotted getting cozy with another dude very recently, so you can imagine who's taking things harder at this point. Number 2, Danny Matheson. That 70s show was a popular sitcom that helped launch several careers, including Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher. Danny was of course also on that show, but it turns out the allegations that date back to 2004 surrounding Danny were reported in 2004. Danny was still on the show when an investigation took place. 4 women reported that he had mistreated them physically, prompting local law enforcement to halt production and bring Danny in for questioning. The investigation brought little to no actual evidence to the table, so Danny was let go and the entire thing was forgotten about. But that means that Ashton and Mila literally watched this man go in for questioning and still called him a role model in their character witness letters. It makes no sense. Their jobs were literally stopped while this man was under investigation, and when the charges came up again 15 years later, they were still on his side. Thankfully, in 2023, it's a lot easier to confirm allegations of this nature, and he was recently sentenced to 3 years in prison, so justice served. Number 1, Jonah Hill. Jonah was once the funniest man in town, shifting his efforts to the world of drama and creating a really nice career where he could just do anything he wanted, really. Unfortunately for fans of Jonah Hill, some information came out earlier this year that called his character into question. Reminder, this isn't my opinion, these are things that just happen in the world and are public knowledge, okay? An ex-girlfriend of Jonah's posted screenshots from past conversations, and the conversations ranged from Jonah just asking her to tone down the photo she was posting, to asking her not to do her job. For those of you who don't know, his ex Sarah works as a surfing instructor, and Jonah was asking her to not surf with men while working, and that she wear more than a bikini while she did so. When Sarah released these screenshots, she underlined them, calling Jonah a narcissistic misogynist, but also said she didn't really want anything bad to happen to him, so Since the messages have been released, there has been a massive online debate as to where Jonah stands in the eyes of the public. Some people feel that canceling him entirely is just a bit too much, and compared to some of the other scandals in Hollywood, especially that I just covered, Jonah Hill is relatively chill. Others want his name wiped from the face of the planet and never to be heard from again, so I don't know, give and take.
Starting off this countdown in no particular order, we have Woody Harrelson. Woody Harrelson's dad, Charles Harrelson, was an American hitman and organized crime figure. Yes, you heard me correctly. Beloved actor, Woody Harrelson had a father who was a cold-blooded killer. He was just 7 at the time when his father first went to prison. It's said that he was responsible for the deaths of at least 20 people. In 1979, that is when Charles committed his biggest kill of all time. He took out a federal judge by the name of Judge John H. Wood Jr. He was the first federal judge to be killed in the 20th century. He was paid $250,000 to kill off this judge. It was because a drug dealer was about to be sentenced by this judge, who was known as Maximum John, because he always gave out really harsh punishments to drug dealers. So he got Charles to knock him off for him, but this landed him behind bars and in solitary confinement. He was there until he was 69 when he died from a heart attack. Obviously, Woody does not want to be defined by his father's actions. In our 9th spot, we have Joaquin Phoenix. Joaquin is one of the few actors who actually grew up in a cult. He was born into the commune of Children of God, but when he was 4 years old, his parents managed to escape the cult and move. That's actually why they changed their last name to Phoenix, as it symbolizes rebirth, since they were able to leave this cult and start a new life. Unfortunately, he also lost his brother at a young age. In 1993, his brother River Phoenix died from an overdose. Joaquin witnessed this happen, and he was the one that called 911. In our 8th spot today, we have Phil Lewis. Phil Lewis is best known for his role of Mr. Mosby on The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, and I freaking love that show. Like, it was honestly my childhood. Well, before his Disney Channel days, he actually killed someone. In December of 1991, Lewis fatally hit a 21-year-old woman. She passed away from her injuries from the hit. It was found that Lewis was driving while intoxicated. His blood alcohol levels were 3 times times the legal limit of intoxication. As a result, he was convicted of a DUI as well as manslaughter. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison, 2 years probation, and 350 hours of community service. But he managed to only serve 1 year in prison. I guess Disney was able to overlook his past when he auditioned for Mosby on the show. In our 7th spot today, we have Tim Allen. Now, if you look at Tim Allen, you think, aw, he's such a family man. I love Home Improvement and Toy Story. He's a great actor. Wow. Tim Allen actually had quite a dark past before he got into acting. In 1978, Allen was arrested for attempting to traffic more than 650 grams of coke. He was arrested in Kalamazoo Battle Creek International Airport. Now, he actually would have served a lifetime in prison, but he avoided this by giving police information about other dealers. As a result, his sentence was reduced to 3 to 7 years. He ended up serving 2 years and 4 months in prison and then was granted parole in 1981. I guess that's why they say don't judge a book by its cover, because he looks like a wholesome dad, not a drug trafficker. In our 6th spot, we have Jack Nicholson. In 1974, Time magazine discovered that Jack's sister, June, was actually his mother, not his sister. How wild is that? So June was only 17 when she became pregnant with Jack, and she wasn't married, so her parents agreed to raise the child as their own, with Jane and Lorraine acting like his older sisters. So his parents were actually his grandparents, and his sister Lorraine was his aunt. In regards to his dad, we don't know for sure who is his dad, but some say it was likely June's manager. Other sources claim June really just doesn't know who the father was. By the time Jack found this all out, his mom, June, and his grandma had already passed away. Imagine how that would have changed his life. Like, he was raised on a lie. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with Sean Penn. A number of women have come forward saying that Sean Penn has been aggressive towards them. In fact, he has mistreated a number of his partners, including Madonna. They were married from 1985 to 1989. While in December of 1988, Penn allegedly tied Madonna to a chair and held her hostage for 9 hours and apparently hit her multiple times. When he untied her to let her use the bathroom, she fled to the police station. One officer said, and I quote, "Madonna staggered into the station. She was distraught, crying, with makeup smeared all over her face. I hardly recognized her. She had obviously been struck." Sean was charged with inflicting corporal injury and traumatic conditions on Madonna, as well as battery. But Madonna withdrew her complaint a week later and has rarely commented on it since, which is quite odd. Why would she say that he harmed her and then retract the statement? So who knows what really happened. Moving on to number 4, we have Leighton Meester. Now, I personally did not know this, but Blair Waldorf, aka Leighton Meester, wasn't always the queen bee of Manhattan. In fact, she was born in prison. Basically, her mom was serving a sentence after smuggling a lot of marijuana out of Jamaica with the help of Leighton's dad and Aunt Judy. All of them ended up behind bars. In fact, her aunt managed to escape prison and became America's first woman on the US Marshals 15 Most Wanted list. How insane is that? In the end, Leighton's grandmother raised her while her mom served 16 months in prison. Thank gosh she didn't follow in her family's footsteps. In our 3rd spot, we have Christopher Walken. Christopher Walken was involved in a death that is just shrouded in mystery. On November 29th, 1981, 43-year-old actress Natalie Wood was found dead, floating face down in the Pacific Ocean. She was on a yacht with her husband Robert Wagner and Christopher Walken when this happened. The thing is, no one really knows what happened to her. Some say she slipped off the deck and fell into the water, while others are convinced that her husband or Christopher Walken had something to do with it, or that they know what happened. One theory is that Natalie and Christopher were having an affair, Wagner found out about it, got mad, and pushed her off the yacht. Now, Wagner seems to be the prime suspect, but many people think that Walken knows exactly what happened. I mean, he barely even talks about the case, and on the rare occasion that he did, he would call it an accident, and also he was absent from the documentary about her. All I'm gonna say is someone knows something. I'm getting the vibe that Walken knows what happened and maybe he just feels guilty about it. In our 2nd spot, we have Charlize Theron. Charlize Theron actually had a very traumatic upbringing. Her dad struggled with alcohol addiction and would constantly threaten Charlize and her mom, Gerda. He would never physically hurt her, but he would hurt Gerda. One night in June of 1991, he got angry and fired shots at both of them. During that altercation, Gerda ran and grabbed her own handgun that she had kept hidden and shot him back. Her shots killed him while Charlize watched it all unravel. In the end, it was declared self-defense and Gerda never faced any charges. But think how traumatizing that must have been for her to see her mother shoot and kill her dad as a teenager. And in our number 1 spot today, we have Ashton Kutcher. Now, I never knew this and I was incredibly shocked when I found out about it. But on February 21st of 2001, Ashton Kutcher went over to his then girlfriend's house, Ashley Elrin. The two had planned on going to a post-Grammy party, but when he knocked on the door, there was no answer. That's because Ashley was dead on the floor of her home. She had been stabbed 47 times by a man named the Hollywood Ripper. He was responsible for the death of up to 10 women. As a result, Ashton Kutcher lost his girlfriend very suddenly and in a very traumatic way. He was also scared that he was going to be a suspect in the murder investigation since his fingerprints were on her door, but he never was, but he did have to testify in court.
Starting off this countdown in no particular order, we've got Jon Hamm. Jon Hamm is most notably famous for his role in the hit television series Mad Men as a cutthroat advertising executive. What he may not want you to know about him, however, were his less than savory college days that landed him in some serious trouble. In 1990, Jon was arrested for his alleged role in a fraternity hazing that turned horribly violent. His fraternity house was even dissolved after Hamm and his friends harmed a pledge so violently that he was in the hospital, even going as far as to light him on fire. Jon was charged with a misdemeanor offense, and when he was asked about it in 2018, his response wasn't the best. Quote, "I was essentially acquitted. I wasn't convicted of anything. I was caught up in a big situation, a stupid kid in a stupid situation, and it was a bummer. I moved on from it." Okay, now we're moving on, I guess. And at number 9 is Richard Pryor, the iconic comedian who is often cited as direct inspiration for other comedy legends like Eddie Murphy and Dave Chappelle. Pryor changed the game. But what you may not know is that there was an extremely dark past behind the All Smiles comic. Richard grew up in an extremely unstable childhood, raised by a substance-using mother in a brothel in Illinois. Richard saw things that no child should ever have to see, and to cope with such a horrifying childhood, he also turned to substance use to self-medicate. Richard was married 7 times to 5 different women who had trouble with the comic's insatiable personal life. He even almost passed away at his own hand when he doused himself in rum and lit himself on fire while using substances. Pryor's friend even stated in an interview, quote, "He has about 13 personalities, and while you could deal with 9 of them, the other 4 are a nightmare." At number 8 is Billy Tipton. Billy Tipton, if you haven't heard of him, was a revered jazz musician who rose to fame in the 1940s and 1950s. He lived his life in relative normalcy outside of his celebrity status. Although he was never married, he did have 5 serious girlfriends, all of whom referred to themselves as Miss Tipton. Eventually, he settled down with a woman named Kelly, and they adopted 3 sons together. It wasn't until his death from a stomach ulcer in 1989 that, as he was being rushed to the hospital, his giant secret was uncovered. Billy Tipton was born a woman and had concealed his sex throughout his entire life, even from his relationships. The revelation came as, quote, "a shock to nearly everyone, including the women who had considered themselves his wives, as well as his sons and the musicians who traveled with him." To explain away any intimacy that would have happened between his partners, Billy reportedly said that he was in a serious car accident that mutilated his body, leaving him unable to perform. At the time this was revealed, it sent shockwaves through the music scene where trans performers were basically completely unheard of. And at number 7 is Prince. The iconic pop singer is considered one of the greatest musicians to have ever lived, but he also had a secret that was only uncovered upon his tragic and sudden death in 2016. After he passed, many stories started to come to light as both bank statements became public and from various sources. These bank statements revealed that Prince had been secretly donating insane sums of money to various charities throughout his life, each with the condition that the donation be private and that the donor be kept a secret. A few organizations that he did support in the days before his death were the Harlem Children's Zone and Uptown Dance Academy, New York. He even donated $12,000 to the Louisville Free Public Library in order to keep it from closing, all under the condition that they keep his name unlisted from donor records. He reportedly gave thousands away at a time, particularly to charities related to children, as his own child tragically passed away after only 6 days of life. He also focused on environmental issues, and uniquely, unlike a lot of celebrities who choose to invest so they get a financial return, Prince just donated to foundations that support environmental causes and a transition to solar power. Number 6, Jimmy Page. Jimmy Page is the virtuoso guitarist guitarist and founder of Led Zeppelin. Jimmy is largely known as one of the greatest guitarists in the history of rock music. I mean, he set the standard for the many who have imitated his electric style. Yet, what he may not want you to know about him is his predatory relationship with a young girl who was only 14 at the time. While he toured with Led Zeppelin, Jimmy dated Lori Maddox, although they kept their relationship extremely private and basically hidden because it was, you know, illegal and creepy. Even in the loose 70s, this relationship could have put Paige in jail. They dated for a little while, and who knows what they did behind the scenes, but Jimmy eventually dumped her for BB Bell, who was of age at the time, thank God. Either way, not a fan of this one. In at number 5 is Matthew Broderick. Matthew Broderick is known largely for his titular role as Ferris Bueller in the John Hughes coming-of-age film Ferris Bueller's Day Off. He was also in The Producers and a bunch of other A-list movies. What you may not know about him, however, is that he was directly involved and in fact caused the death of numerous people. He and Jennifer Grey, the star of Dirty Dancing, were on a romantic vacation in Ireland when Matthew head-on hit the car of a 28-year-old woman and her mother. Both women were pronounced dead at the hospital. The road was straight and easy to navigate. The issue was that they were in Ireland, and he, out of habit, drove on the wrong side of the road, which led to the crash. Following the accident, Broderick was convicted of careless driving but was only fined $175, which to this day the family of the victims called a quote travesty of justice. At number 4 is Jackie Chan. While Jackie Chan appeared as a comedic kung fu fighting man on the screen, his personal life is absolutely insane and surprisingly not well known. In fact, Jackie himself didn't know until well into his career just how many secrets were being kept in his family. He learned in 2003 that he had 2 secret brothers living in China and that his father was a nationalist spy on secret missions to bust substance crime in mainland China. In fact, that's where he met Jackie's mother. In what seems like a moment straight out of a noir crime boss movie, Jackie's father met his mother, Lily Chan, because he was sent to bust her as an infamous dealer and legendary gambler in Shanghai. So, his mother was one of the lords of the Chinese underbelly, and his father was sent to arrest her. The two fled to Australia together, where they lived until their death. Jackie's father also revealed that the actor's real family name isn't Chan at all, but rather Fang. How's that for a family reunion? In at number 3 is Rose McGowan. Rose was one of the founding spokespersons in the Me Too movement, joining dozens of women who brought Harvey Weinstein to justice. She is best known for her 90s movies like Jawbreaker, Scream, and Encino Man. But what you may not know about her is her rather horrifying upbringing. She was born in Florence, Italy, where her parents lived in a commune called the Children of God. Basically, she was born into a cult that had mass allegations of horrifying crimes against humanity. I can't really say what they are because of YouTube restrictions, but if you're curious, I suggest you look into it with a serious content warning in mind. The cult in question lured people in with promises of all kinds of physical intimacy and activities with extremely young women set to perform such acts on the men in the cult. Luckily for Rose, she was largely protected from the more heinous side of the cult, and she and her family fled when she was 14 years old, where quote, "We hid in an old stone house and had to boil pots of water to take baths. The cult sent people to find us. I remember a man trying to break in with a hammer." Number 2 on the list, Rihanna. While the celebrity singer is in the news lately for her exciting pregnancy with A$AP Rocky, what you may not know about her is her rather insane early life, and the secrets that they kept even from her until they were finally brought to light. Old family photos were unearthed that reveal a secret side of the family that Rihanna herself rarely ever talks about: her father's other kids. Rihanna has 3 older siblings through her father by 3 different women, as he admitted to being quite the womanizer in his heyday. Her and her father have an extremely complicated relationship, as he has dealt with substance use issues for most of his life. And now to find out that she had 3 other siblings she knew nothing about, it's a wonder the two have stuck together through so much. And in at number 1 is Mark Wahlberg. The actor and singer needs no introduction, but he may need a little disclaimer beside his name for the rather horrifying incident he caused in the 80s. When he was 16 years old, Mark had an extremely harsh life, and he ended up brutally harming an elderly Vietnamese man in a racially motivated attack. He shouted slurs at him while physically harming him so badly that Mark was charged with attempted murder. While he was sentenced to 2 years in prison, for some reason he only served 45 days. In a beautiful show of faith, his victim, whose name is Johnny Trin, stated that he forgives Mark. Quote, "Everyone deserves another chance. He was young and reckless, but I forgive him now. He paid for his crime when he went to prison." Mark got a pardon from the court, basically exonerating him from his crime, an action that he later stated he regrets. Quote, "I didn't need that. I spent 28 years righting the wrong. I was relieved to find out that the injuries to his eye had occurred in the early 70s and not from the incident that happened that night, but I was able to meet with him and his wife and his daughter and apologize for these horrific acts. Some good can come out of it.
Starting off this countdown, we have Meg Ryan, Dennis Quaid, and Russell Crowe. Meg Ryan was married to Dennis Quaid for 9 years until she decided to cheat on him with Russell Crowe. This happened while filming the movie Proof of Life with Russell in Ecuador. Somehow, news got out about Ryan and Crowe, and Quaid soon filed for divorce. But Ryan turned it around, saying that the divorce was all Quaid's fault, and that he had also been unfaithful during their marriage. In the end, Ryan lost Crowe and Quaid, and the movie tanked in the box office. So maybe that's karma. Moving on to number 9, we have Aaron Carter, Hilary Duff, and Lindsay Lohan. Back in the early 2000s, Aaron Carter was quite the heartthrob and ladies' man, catching the hearts of fans and celebrities all around the world. Well, Aaron met Hilary when he guest starred in the Lizzie McGuire Christmas special. If you guys remember that, smash that like button, because I do. Then on his 13th birthday, the pair officially began dating. They were together for almost 2 years when he cheated on her with Lindsay Lohan. In fact, he was two-timing her, so he was dating Lindsay and Hilary at the same time. Now this is what Aaron had to say. I started dating Hilary on my 13th birthday. I was dating her for like a year and a half, and then I just got a little bored. So I went and I started getting to know Lindsay, dating Lindsay. Then I didn't want to do that anymore, so I got back with Hilary. And then I ended up cheating on Hilary with her best friend. That's nothing to smile about, she wasn't even that good looking either. End of quote. I didn't just add that in, he also said that. So he literally got bored and was like, sure, let's fool around with other women. Jeez, Aaron. In our 8th spot today, we have Laura Dern, Billy Bob Thornton, and Angelina Jolie. Honestly, people might hate me for saying this, but Billy Bob Thornton and Angelina Jolie were a hot couple. I'm sorry. Well, Laura Dern and Billy Bob started dating in 1997 while on the set of Ellen. The couple dated for 3 years and even were engaged. But in 1999, he called it quits, and a year later, he married Angelina Jolie. That one's gotta hurt. According to Dern, she said, and I quote, "I left our home to work on a movie, and while I was away, my boyfriend got married, and I've never heard from him again." That is very harsh. Moving on to number 7, we have Alex Rodriguez, Kate Hudson, and Cameron Diaz. Now this dude has dated all the stars, I swear, like Madonna, J-Lo, come on now. Anyways, Kate Hudson and A-Rod dated for 7 months before calling it quits in December of 2009. Just a few months later, Cameron Diaz was seen leaving his house with overnight bags, you guys know what that means. And according to sources, Hudson was not happy with this at all. Maybe this was payback for Hudson hooking up with Cameron's ex-boyfriend, Justin Timberlake, shortly after they broke up. Who knows? But in 2012, it seems like they got over this drama because they were quite chummy with each other at the Academy Awards. In 2013, Diaz referred to Hudson as one of her good friends. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with Sophia Bush, Chad Michael Murray, and Paris Hilton. Now, Chad Michael Murray is one fine man, okay? Let me just say that. And I did not know that he got together with Paris Hilton. Okay, I don't know, I just can't picture them together, you know? But I guess opposites attract. One Tree Hill stars Sophia and Chad ended up having chemistry on and off screen. In December of 2005, they actually got married, but the marriage was very short-lived. 5 months later, they separated. And apparently, Chad was spotted with Paris Hilton. Now, this is where it gets messy. So at the time the two allegedly got together, Paris was dating Nick Carter. Nick's younger brother, Aaron Carter, eventually spilled the tea, saying that Paris cheated on his brother with Chad Michael Murray. So they both cheated on their partners. A year later, Sophia and Chad filed for divorce. In our 4th spot, we have Kristen Stewart, Robert Pattinson, and Rupert Sanders. Now, I don't know if you remember when this drama came out, but I do. And that's because I was a hardcore Twilight fan, and I shipped Kristen and Robert to the moon and back. When I heard she cheated on him, I was so mad at her. Like, she doesn't even know who I was, but I was mad. Anyways, while filming Snow White and the Huntsman, Kristen got with the director Rupert Sanders, and the two were caught kissing in public. Kristen was dating Robert at the time, and Rupert was married to Liberty Ross. Rob and Kristen separated for a bit, then got back together again, only to break up again in 2013, whereas Rupert's wife filed for divorce in 2013. In our third spot today, we have David Spade, Laura Flynn Boyle, and Jack Nicholson. This is a very odd trio, but apparently Jack Nicholson stole David Spade's girlfriend, Laura Flynn Boyle, from him in 1999. According to him, that's what happened. They had been dating for a year when Jack literally asked her out in front of David. Now, David got all defensive, being like, I know you're gonna go out with him anyway. And she was like, no way, he's worse than Trump. Like, no lie, that's what she said. But in the end, the two were spotted together. Actually, they got in a car crash together, and apparently Boyle climbed out of the sunroof and yelled, I have a boyfriend, I can't be here. But she was caught, like literally red-handed. In our third spot today, we have Bella Thorne, her brother, and another Bella. Bella Thorne's brother, Remy Thorne, was dating a girl named Bella Pendergast for 3 years. The pair broke up around 2015. Bella Thorne was dating Greg Sulkin, and when she broke up, she quickly came out as bisexual on her Twitter. A little while later, she was spotted with her brother's ex being a little too close. They shared a number of photos holding hands and kissing, and people were like, is she seriously dating her brother's ex? And yes, the answer is yes, she did. But shortly after, Bella Thorne decided to go after Greg Sulkin's friend, Tyler Posey. Then a month later, she dumped him and was with Charlie Puth. And don't get me started with the whole Tana Modson relationship, okay? That's a whole other mess on its own. And in our number one spot today, we have Olivia Wilde, Jason Sudeikis, and Harry Styles. Now, I must be living under a bus because I love Jason Sudeikis, but I did not know that he was engaged to Olivia Wilde. The pair first met in 2011 and began dating a few months later. In 2012, they got engaged, and in 2014 and 2016, they gave birth to 2 children. But in 2020, the pair announced that they had split. A few months later, Olivia was spotted with Harry Styles after attending a wedding together. They both met during the movie Don't Worry Darling, and some believe that Styles might be one of the reasons as to why the two split. One source said, and I quote, Olivia called off the engagement in early November, but only after she had already gotten close to Harry. The source continued on saying, whether Harry knows it or not, he was the reason for the split, and it blindsided Jason.
Number 10. Lindsay Lohan. She was once the youngest and one of the highest paid Hollywood superstars who became a millionaire before being an adult. Fans remember Lindsay from her iconic role in Mean Girls, and she was once so successful in the industry that her net worth had skyrocketed to approximately $40 million. But today her net worth is around $800,000. So what happened? Long story short, she was living way above her means. Her extravagant spending habits reduced her net worth from millions to thousands. She was also pretty careless, and in 2006, she was reported to have misplaced one of her expensive handbags with $1 million worth of jewelry still inside the bag. She also tried to keep up with a party lifestyle and struggled with addiction from a young age. She ended up spending large amounts every week on her habit alone, which unfortunately lost her a lot of film roles as her habits started affecting her work. Unpaid taxes were another reason why she got tangled in legal issues. In 2012, Lohan owed a massive amount of around $233,000 in due taxes, and there are other forms of debt too, like a $100,000 bill for a limousine company. Number 9. 50 Cent. Not long ago, 50 Cent was one of the richest rappers in the hip-hop industry, second only to the billionaire Jay-Z. At the height of his wealth, Curtis 50 Cent Jackson was said to be worth $155 million after tax, according to Forbes' annual hip-hop's wealthiest artist list. In fact, he's been on the same list every year since its inception in 2007, but a flailing music career, several legal battles, and poor business investments plummeted his net worth by a whopping $200 million, forcing him into bankruptcy with a debt of $32.5 million. So what happened? Well, it really came down to reckless spending and the various lawsuits that he faced throughout his career, but also several of his investments went badly and lost a lot of value during the 2008 recession, and he eventually filed for bankruptcy in 2015. According to TMZ, he struck a deal to pay $23 million in debts over 5 years. The filing came several days after a court ordered him to pay $7 million to Lastonia Levinson, whose sex tape he posted online without her consent. But despite being debt-free today, it seems like 50 is still in need of cash and regularly rants about being owed money on social media. So it's possible that he never never fully recovered from his financial woes. Number 8. Kim Basinger. In the 80s and 90s, with her old school Hollywood glam, Basinger was everywhere at one point, with starring roles in movies like Batman, Never Say Never Again, and LA Confidential. But a series of terrible financial decisions left the once wealthy A-list actress practically destitute. So how exactly did such a popular and wealthy celeb end up in this dire state? Well, in 1989, Basinger paid $20 million for the town of Brazelton, Georgia. Yeah, she really bought a whole town. But it should come as little surprise that the purchase turned out to be a pretty terrible idea. Although she saw it as an investment and planned on turning the town into a tourist attraction by building a theme park, her dreams never materialized. Eventually, she sold it for a measly $1 million in 1993, making a staggering loss of $19 million. The bankruptcy was huge news at the time, and the actress also went through a messy divorce with her ex-husband Alec Baldwin, leaving her $3 million out of pocket, and she was sued by producer Carl Mazzaconi for backing out of an oral contract to star in a film. But despite being crazy broke, Basinger's finances have stayed out of the headlines for the last 15 years. Number 7. Nicolas Cage. The 58-year-old made his money by being one of Hollywood's highest earning actors and starring in iconic films like Con Air and Ghost Rider. In fact, he made $40 million in 2009 alone. But he eventually went into extreme debt after spending obscure amounts on his fortune on some insane stuff like a $67 million Tarbosaurus dinosaur skull for $300,000, or the 11th century Bavarian castle in Germany for $8 million. In 2006, he also bought a haunted house that belonged to serial killer Madame Delphine Laurie for $3.45 million. But these spending habits really caught up with him, and by the time he was 40, he was flat out broke. Cage tried to blame his money manager for sending him, quote, down a path of financial ruin. But it didn't help that in 2009, the IRS came knocking and claimed that the actor owed them $6.2 million in property taxes. But according to GQ, Cage officially finished paying off all his debts last year after signing on to star in The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Although his net worth is leagues away from where it used to be, a comeback onto the big screen could change that. Number 6. Lena Headey. The actress played Cersei Lannister on Game of Thrones and had a very successful career even before landing a role in the series. She was in iconic films like Terminator, The Sarah Connor Chronicles, and 300. However, her bank account was reduced to just a few dollars after her divorce, as a legal battle really took everything she had. In fact, Lena had less than $5 in her bank account when the divorce happened, and she was surviving on credit cards to pay for herself and her 2-year-old son's living expenses. After 8 seasons of Game of Thrones, she was doing well again, and her net worth skyrocketed to $12 million. But it seems that the 48-year-old just cannot get out of financial trouble and is now being sued for $1.5 million by her former agency over alleged unpaid commission fees for the 2022 Marvel movie Thor: Love and Thunder. The agency alleges that Lena owes them $500,000 from her salary on the superhero flick, and at least $300,000 for the mystery drama called 9 Bullets, as well as $650,000 for the Showtime series Rita. So hopefully she can get herself out of the lawsuit, but it could land the actress right back into another dire financial situation. Number 5. Mike Tyson. The heavyweight champion made more than $700 million from his boxing fights alone, and was one of the highest paid athletes of all time. At his peak, his net worth was estimated to be more than $340 million. So what happened? Well, the New York Times described Tyson's bankruptcy as a lesson in ways to squander a fortune. So you can pretty much guess. The boxer spent his wealth on cars, jewelry, mansions, and also paid for some unusual services. In fact, in 1996, he paid a camp aide named Crocodile $300,000 to dress in fatigues and repeatedly shout guerrilla warfare at his news conferences. Tyson also paid $2 million for a golden bathtub and 3 Bengal tigers, which reportedly cost him $71,000 per tiger, and a further $70,000 on their maintenance and diet. He even had to hire an animal trainer that cost him $125,000. As a result, Tyson fell deeply into debt despite his immense earnings and was forced to file Chapter 11 bankruptcy in 2003, reporting that he was a whopping $38.4 million in debt before returning to jail and checking into rehab. His net worth is now a fraction of what it used to be at around $10 million, but he's managed to reach financial stability again and seems to be doing well for himself. Number 4. Toni Braxton. The R&B singer has been making hits since the 90s and is mostly known for love songs and songs about heartache, but Toni Braxton is also very well known for her immense financial troubles over the years. After selling 15 million copies of her second album in 1996, fans were confused when she filed for bankruptcy, claiming that she had an astounding $50 million in debt. Everyone was confused because at the time of the filing, she had sold out world tours and millions of albums. Well, it turns out that she was suing her record label to terminate her recording contract because she was only receiving 33 cents per album, making it impossible for her to make money from album sales. Her career continued to soar after her messy legal battle, and she eventually became the headlining act of the Flamingo Hotel's casino, which seemed to be going great until it wasn't. The singer collapsed on stage during a show in 2007 and was hospitalized immediately after. She told ABC News in 2012, quote, "The Vegas show, I just renewed my contracts with all my vendors, and then a month later I got sick. I couldn't work and could not afford to pay them back. She was forced to file for bankruptcy a second time, but has since been able to turn her situation around by starring in her own reality TV show, Braxton Family Values." Number 3. Sydney Sweeney. At 24 years old, the Euphoria actress scored her first 2 Emmy nominations for roles in not one but 2 acclaimed HBO series. She has also started her own production company, 50/50 Films, and in the past year worked as an ambassador for many high fashion brands. But Sweeney recently revealed in a Hollywood Reporter interview that she still feels the financial pressure of paying her monthly bills, admitting that she was worried if she took a break from work, there would be no money and no support for any potential children that she would have. Quote, "If I wanted to take a 6-month break, I don't have income to cover that. I don't have someone supporting me. I don't have anyone I can turn to pay my bills or call for help." Although she's doing incredibly well for her age and her net worth is reportedly around $5 million, she claimed that actors don't get paid like they used to, and explained why she's experiencing financial strain. Among other reasons, Sweeney says that streaming sites don't provide residuals and claimed that paying her publicist every month costs more than her mortgage. She admitted that if I just acted, I wouldn't be able to afford my life in LA. And she also said that she takes several deals because she has to. So it seems that even working actors can wind up broke. Number 2. Amber Heard. The actress is known for her roles in several films, including the DC Comics Aquaman movie, but these days her name is synonymous with her now ex-husband Johnny Depp. Despite appearing in DC's Aquaman and making around $1 million, which is her highest paid role to date, Heard's total net worth is estimated to be minus $6 million. Why? Well, it's safe to say that she faced financial trouble after the highly publicized defamation trial brought against her by her ex-husband. But her situation has been looking much worse post-verdict. The actress was ordered to pay Depp $10 million in compensation and $5 million in punitive damages after a jury said that she defamed him. The judge later capped the damages at the Virginia maximum of $350,000, minus the $2 million that Depp was ordered to pay Heard, which means she owes him a total of $8.35 million. But the issue is that she has a reported net worth of only $3.5 million, making her officially broke. And if you thought things couldn't get any more downhill, she is unable to file for bankruptcy to wipe away the charges. This might have otherwise been an option for her, but the award is not dischargeable because punitive damages are never deductible or dischargeable. So there's no doubting the fact that she is broke. Number 1. Aaron Carter. You'd think earning millions of dollars before you turn 18 would set you up for an early retirement, but that never seems to be the case with child stars. Aaron Carter became a star in his own right very early on, reportedly amassing an estimated net worth of millions of dollars. He told Oprah, quote, "I made over $200 million in my career before I even turned 18 years old." As a result of his fame and fortune, his family lived very well on a massive compound with 12 houses on it, which Carter claims was worth over $10 million. But as a teen, he started getting into trouble with the law, which totally ruined his wholesome reputation and eventually affected his ability to make records. Quote, "Labels were like, 'We don't want to touch you. You're dead and gone. There's no more Aaron Carter.'" The star said he tried to rebuild his image when he realized the consequences of his actions, but it was too late. By the time he was 18, Aaron was already broke and had to declare bankruptcy in 2013 with $2 million of debt. At the time, he was left with only $917 in his checking account. He's managed to get back on track somewhat since then, and the now 34-year-old has a net worth of $400,000, but he would need a real career comeback to even attempt to regain his wealth. Number 10. Against discipline. Smith's unusual parenting style has raised eyebrows over the years, but he and his wife faced backlash in April 2013 when he revealed that they didn't believe in punishing their 2 younger children, Willow and Jaden. Will told Metro UK, quote, "We don't do punishment. The way that we deal with our kids is they are responsible for their lives. Our concept is, as young as possible, give them as much control over their lives as possible." And when talking about the concept of punishment, they believe it has too much of a negative quality. Basically, their whole parenting philosophy is that they don't believe in disciplining their kids. But criticism of their parenting style really exploded in 2014 when 13-year-old Willow was photographed in bed with a 20-year-old actor laying down right beside her. The whole thing even led to an investigation by Child Protective Services. In an interview with BBC Radio a couple of years later, after the initial drama, Will actually admitted that he and Jada may have gone a bit too far in their hands-off approach, and perhaps should have kept a tighter rein on Jaden and Willow. Regardless of whether you think the Smiths were wrong in their parenting approach or not, there's no denying that it led to two incredibly creative individuals. Number 9. Wanting multiple girlfriends. While the Smiths are no longer trying to hide how they feel about open relationships, many people have actually taken more offense to Will's misogynistic comments about women, specifically when he admitted in a 2021 GQ profile that his fantasy was to have, quote, a harem of girlfriends. He proceeded to name Halle Berry and ballet dancer Misty Copeland as two women that he would invite to be in it. Then, under the direction of an intimacy coach that he had at the time, he researched them and even made plans to contact them. Quote, the idea of traveling with 20 women that I loved and took care of and all that, it seemed like a really great idea. Obviously, he never acted on the impulse, eventually realizing that it wouldn't be fun at all in reality. He apparently came to the conclusion that it would be horrific and it would in fact make him miserable. Can't really argue with that one, but it might have been a good idea to keep that fantasy hidden. Number 8. The entanglement. Musician August Alsina brought the Smiths' relationship into the spotlight in July of 2020 when he revealed that he was romantically involved with Jada, and Will knew about it the whole time. He had even given them his blessing. Although Jada initially denied the claims, she eventually confessed to being in an entanglement with August when she and her husband were separated. Quote, we decided we were going to separate for a period of time, and you go figure out how to make yourself happy, and I'll figure out how to make myself happy, Smith said during an appearance on the Red Table Talk in July of 2020. They both went on the talk show together, and in a heartbreaking episode, Jada told Will how she came to be romantically involved with August, and how he made her feel special because of what they were lacking in their relationship at the time. Will took the whole thing like a champ, but the clip went viral online because he looked like he was on the verge of tears the whole time that Jada was talking. Looking back on that moment now, it almost hurts to watch. Number 7. Strange beliefs. Jaden and Willow Smith have long been open about their bizarre opinions, but all of their insane comments have mostly been swept under the rug over the years. The siblings have also come out and labeled themselves as indigo children, who are believed to possess special, unusual, and supernatural traits that was popularized in the 70s. One of the most unforgettable interviews was done by T Magazine in 2014, who felt that their sibling dynamic would make them just the right people to talk about all those classic teenage topics such as quantum physics, prana energy, and the lucid, often elusive nature of temporal interpretation. Jaden said, quote, here's the deal, school is not authentic because it ends. It's not true, it's not real, our learning will never end, and that kids who go to normal school are so teenagery and so angsty. He went on to say that you never learn anything in school. Think about how many car accidents happen every day. Quote, driver's ed? What's up with that? I still haven't been to driver's ed because everybody I know has been in an accident, and I can't see how driver's ed is really helping them out. I mean, we could break that down even more, but I don't really see the point. It's just funny because you know he was completely serious when he said it. Number 6. Hating on Aunt Viv. One of the most controversial opinions that Will has had is that of Janet Hubert, who played Aunt Viv on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. When she left the sitcom due to creative differences in 1993, Will slammed his former co-star during a radio interview. All I can say is straight up that Janet Hubert wanted the show to be the Aunt Viv of Bel-Air show. He also said that she told him, quote, I've been in the business for 10 years and this snotty-nosed punk comes along and gets a show. Those comments marked the start of what would eventually become a 30-year feud. Janet claimed that Will spread lies about her behavior on set because he knew the audience was mostly on her side. It wasn't until the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air reunion special in 2020 that Will even acknowledged that he had made the set difficult for Janet during the 3rd season. It was a really sad moment because she admitted that the rumors Will started had cost her everything, including her career and her reputation, saying, quote, calling a black woman difficult in Hollywood is the kiss of death. Will only realized his mistake much too late and said that after having 3 kids, he's learned some things he did not know at the time, and he would do things differently with Janet had he gotten another chance. Number 5. Secret third child. Not everyone knows that Will actually has a third child from his first marriage to Cherie Zampino. Trey Smith, who is now 29 years old, mostly lived with his mother following his parents' divorce in 1995, and so that's why he's still relatively unknown. But Trey has actually struggled quite a bit compared to his half-siblings. In a 2018 Instagram post, Trey said that he felt betrayed and abandoned for a long time after his parents' divorce, and even Will admitted that he and his eldest child struggled for years to develop a good father-son relationship because he basically made a whole new family and moved on without Trey. The truth is, his father's total absence from his day-to-day life was quite hard on him growing up, and Will has also said that he regrets how neglected Trey felt. In fact, they have only recently been back on good terms, and the actor said that he and his firstborn son have slowly started growing and healing, overcoming their past trauma, even posting on Instagram in 2018, quote, "It is a wild blessing to recover and restore a loving relationship with my beautiful son." Number 4. How they met. The couple often paint their love story as one for the ages, but they definitely tried to gloss over the fact that their relationship began when Will was technically married to his first wife, Cherie. In fact, Jada let this information slip voluntarily in a 2018 interview with Access, admitting that when Will first reached out to her, he wasn't exactly fully free to do so. Quote, "He was just separated," and then went on to say that the divorce had not even happened yet. The couple has maintained that they weren't physically involved until the divorce was finalized, but many fans believe Will's heart had certainly strayed well before he made any move to end things with Cherie. During a sit-down interview on Red Table Talk, Will actually said that at a certain point in his first marriage, quote, "I had a realization that I wasn't with the person I was supposed to be with," but maintained that he didn't want to get divorced. He kind of admitted that instead of being honest with his wife right away, he just lost feelings for her and kept it private. But in the end, his ex-wife was the bigger person and ended up asking for the divorce, which allowed him to publicly date Jada right after the papers were signed. Number 3. Nepotism. The Smith family are undeniably a very tight-knit unit, collaborating on so many projects together throughout their careers. Some critics have accused the patriarch of nepotism, and they may have a point. It's pretty easy to see why. Just glancing through Jaden Smith's IMDb page, you can actually see that most of the movies he starred in were produced by one of his parents. The accusations were so intense that in Will's memoir, he opened up about casting The Pursuit of Happiness, saying that the studio actually didn't want to cast Jaden because it would seem like nepotism, and that would just ruin the credibility of the film from the get-go. But even though the studio was hesitant, the concerns didn't keep the Smiths from pushing for Jaden to get the part, and eventually they had their way. Don't get me wrong, the movie was great, but fans could not ignore the clear favoritism that was happening behind the scenes. Many people even called out his acting abilities in After Earth, which completely bombed at the box office, and Will even called it the most painful failure of his career. Number 2. Open marriages. Will and Jada have been shutting down rumors for literally decades, from claims that they're in an open relationship and speculation that they're swingers, to reports that Jada even cheated on Will with Mark Anthony. During an interview with GQ in 2021, Smith finally revealed that he and his wife haven't always been monogamous. Quote, "Jada never believed in conventional marriage," and went on to say that Jada had family members that had an unconventional relationship. So she grew up in a way that was very different to how he grew up. He hinted that both parties had taken advantage of the trust and freedom in their relationship in their own way. Will admitted that for a large part of their relationship, monogamy was what they chose, but it's clear that somewhere down the line they decided to stray from that traditional dynamic. In fact, Will was rumored to be hooking up with Margot Robbie on the set of their film Focus in 2013, after photos were leaked of the pair joking around and getting very close in front of the camera in a photo booth. But Margot was quick to deny everything on Twitter. Quote, "There's absolutely no truth to the ridiculous matter. It's disappointing that goofing around on set could be taken so out of context. Well, people really do jump to conclusions. And coming in at number 1, ties to Scientology. While the couple have never confirmed their religious affiliation, the Smith family has long been rumored to be members of the controversial Church of Scientology. Smith told Men's Vogue in May 2011, quote, "I've studied Buddhism and Hinduism and I've studied Scientology with Tom Cruise, and nobody's saying anything different." His comments obviously earned a great deal of backlash, especially when he claimed 98% of the principles are identical to the principles in the Bible. But then in October 2018, he declared that his family have never been Scientologists. To confuse matters even more, many of the Smiths' movies reportedly contain Scientology references and themes. In 2013, Vulture even called his sci-fi flick, After Earth, that he did with Jaden a love letter to Scientology. Not to mention the fact that in 2007, Will and Jada donated over $122,000 to the church. The truth is, we may never know whether the family are members of the religious movement or not, but the fact that the famous family hasn't condemned Scientology is already a major problem for some fans, especially as more and more disturbing allegations are continuing to come out about the church in recent years.
In at number 10, Janet Jackson. It's very rare that a celebrity in Hollywood is able to keep their relationship, or marriage for that matter, under the radar. However, Janet Jackson has been able to keep her multiple marriages and subsequent divorces all a secret from the tabloids. First, she was married to singer-songwriter Renee Elizondo in 1991, and that union remained under wraps until she filed for divorce in 2000. She then managed to keep her next marriage to billionaire Wissam Almana in 2012 a secret as well. This marriage actually really ended up changing Janet. She moved to London and abandoned her look to opt for a more conservative garb in line with Almana's Muslim religion. The couple wed 2 years after they met, and much to everyone's surprise, the then 50-year-old Janet announced that she was pregnant with son Issa, who was born in January of this year. To even greater surprise, Janet then announced her separation from Almana 4 months later. In at number 9, Kathy Griffin. Kathy Griffin is typically all about the laugh, so it's really hard to believe her when she's talking about her late brother, a convicted pedophile. The public first learned about her older brother Kenny in her best-selling autobiography My Life on the D-List, and in the book Kathy spoke about growing up with her brother and how she felt a very violent energy whenever he was around. She even admitted to witnessing him beating up his own wife. What's just as disturbing was when Kathy explained how he was sexually inappropriate with her from the time that she was just a little girl. Ultimately, this shaped the way that she perceived the world and herself as she grew up. Kenny Griffin ended up going to prison and eventually passed away. In at number 8, Rose McGowan. Ever since the beginning of the Time's Up and Me Too movement, actress Rose McGowan has been an outspoken force for change. As a result, she's been very open about her own personal secrets involving mental illness and sexual abuse. Growing up, her life was plagued with pain because her parents belonged to a cult called the Children of God. According to Rose, the members believed in free love, and so she was raised in a commune where mistreating women was just normalized. She even cited that men in the cult would regularly mistreat women and force them to act as servants. In at number 7, Holly Madison. Having frequently visited the Playboy Mansion when she was a 20-year-old college student in Los Angeles, the aspiring actress decided to move into the house a year later in 2001. The Oregon native, who was familiar with Playboy and had been a fan, soon became Hugh Hefner's lead girlfriend, and the two appeared to fall madly in love. Over the course of their 7 years together, their untraditional relationship was followed on the E! Channel series called The Girls Next Door. Holly acted as the loyal wife figure alongside co-stars and fellow girlfriends Kendra and Bridget. However, in a bizarre series of events, Holly left the mansion claiming that Hugh had refused to marry her. That being said, this is exactly how Hef wanted things to appear to the general public. In her memoir titled Down the Rabbit Hole, she spoke openly about the relationship and revealed some deep-rooted secrets that Hugh never wanted us to know. Apparently, he knew that she was unhappy and just ignored her. Upon reflecting on it, she said that even though she gave 7 years of her life, the man could barely have a conversation with her. In at number 6, Melissa Joan Hart. Melissa Joan Hart may be a happily married mother of 3, but during her time as Sabrina the Teenage Witch, she partied like every other Hollywood star. In the 1990s, she appeared to be this squeaky clean actor, but that was just an image put forth by executives. In her tell-all book called Melissa Explains It All, she speaks very openly about all of the secret stories that she had to keep under wraps while acting in Hollywood. In one portion of the book, she says that she experimented with weed, ecstasy, mushrooms, and mescaline for about a year and a half. Looks like her broomstick wasn't the only thing that was getting her high. Am I right? Up top. No? Okay. On top of that, she spilled crazy details about making out with a woman in a limo and then heading to a Maxim photo shoot while still high, then revealing that it was her 3rd or 4th time on ecstasy for this photo shoot. Although all this bad behavior, she says, is attributed to the bad crowd that she was hanging around with. I think she claimed also that Paris Hilton once offered her cocaine at a party, but obviously she denied. In at number 5, Daniel Radcliffe. Where does the time go? It feels like only yesterday that we were watching the adventures of Harry, Ron, and Hermione. Although because we were so engulfed in following following Daniel Radcliffe bring this character to life, we failed to notice when he grew up. Not only that, but his confession that he had a drinking problem was sadly something that no one wanted to hear about. Thankfully, he beat this in 2010, but the actor himself has revealed that he would show up to the set of Harry Potter still intoxicated from the night before. Daniel said that there were times during his teen years where he felt like he was being watched, and while admitting that most of that may have been in his own head, he still didn't know how to deal with it. During an interview with Off Camera, he said, "In my case, the quickest way to forget about the fact that you're being watched is to get very drunk." In an interview for The Guardian, he said that he turned to alcohol to cope with the pressure of fame and potential failure. And as I mentioned, he has been sober since 2010, but said that his friends played a big role in his recovery. Although he did reveal some pretty crazy stuff about being intoxicated while filming Harry Potter. Daniel said, "I can honestly say I never drank at work on Harry Potter. I went into work still drunk, but I never drank at work. I can point to many scenes where I'm just gone, dead behind the eyes." That really changes that movie series for me. In at number 4, Jackie Chan. There are very few actors in the world that have forsaken their health and safety like Jackie Chan just in order to do their own stunts. As a master of the martial arts, he's put his skills to the test both physically and comedically. Over the course of his illustrious career, he has injured himself countless times but somehow remains unfazed. It's most likely because Jackie grew up in a family of risk takers. His mother, Li Chan, was a drug dealer, and his father actually was a secret agent for the Nationalist Guard. His father ended up fleeing to Hong Kong after Mao took power in 1949, and his mother was forced to abandon her first 2 children due to extreme poverty. Jackie Chan's parents actually met in the most bizarre way possible, a reason for meeting that Jackie would keep quiet for many years. Li and Charles Chan met when he busted her for drug possession. He ended up taking pity on her and then just letting her go. I mean, what an origin story for this Hollywood superstar. In at number 3, Richard Pryor. More often than not, comedians have very tragic backstories, and that can certainly be said for the legendary comedian Richard Pryor. The actor and comic struggled with addiction throughout his life. He was married 7 times and even lit himself on fire once. However, his upbringing was even more of a personal struggle. Richard Pryor's mother, Gertrude, was a prostitute who worked out of his grandmother Marie's brothel. When Gertrude abandoned her son when he was only 10 years old, he was left in the hands of his abusive grandmother. Pryor's paternal side also didn't do him any favors. His father, Leroy, was a hustler and a boxer, yet despite his own demons and secrets, Pryor was able to turn his pain into comedy. In at number 2, 50 Cent. A lot of rappers talk about living a gangster lifestyle, but some of them actually do it. 50 Cent might seem egotistical and talk a big game, but the rapper has had a very tough childhood. The rapper, whose real name is Curtis Jackson, was born in Queens, New York, and his mother, Sabrina, was just 15 years old when she gave birth to him. Sabrina ended up turning to drug dealing to feed her son and became one of the most notorious drug dealers in the area. Unfortunately, she was killed in an unexplained fire when Jackson was only 8 years old. Still, he would go on to follow in her footsteps with drug dealing and was even shot 9 times in May of 2000. At the age of 19, an undercover police officer had arrested Jackson for selling 4 vials of cocaine, and then his home was raided 3 weeks later. He was then sentenced to 3 to 9 years, and he went to a boot camp instead to get his GED, but at this time he was already rapping and took on the name 50 Cent, which actually was an original moniker of a Brooklyn crook from the 1980s. Bunch of secrets in there for you that you could read on an autobiography page. Last but certainly not least, our number 1 spot, Keith Richards. Nobody who started their career in the music business in the 1960s, and I mean nobody, has remained untouched by the glorious days of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. This is especially valid for the musicians of the legendary rock bands, most of whom have admitted to having consumed all kinds of substances in their time. But none of those are as bizarre as the one that Keith Richards of the Rolling Stones is said to have sampled. In 2007, a magazine revealed that the 72-year-old guitarist once mixed his father's ashes with cocaine and then snorted him. The veteran of drug marathons was convinced that his father wouldn't have objected at all, and added that he went down pretty well. Many years later, Richards realized that being still alive after decades of drug and alcohol abuse was just pure luck. He also advised that others not follow in his footsteps and definitely abstain from snorting their parents.
Number 10, Jaden Smith. Child to 2 of Hollywood's worst, Will and Jada Smith, Jaden was attempting to get a career started as early as the age of 8, starring alongside his dad Will in a handful of projects before being casted as the lead in a remake of the popular Karate Kid series. Karate Kid was well received. If anything was weird that came from it, it was the song Never Say Never. Following the success, it seemed like he was on track to be the next Hollywood Nepo baby who followed in their parents' footsteps. However, the older he got, the less he appeared in films, instead opting to work for himself. The last movie that he was in was After Earth, a sci-fi, alongside his father as a co-star and his mother as a producer. The film lost millions of dollars and is considered to be the movie that caused Jaden to rethink his trajectory. Instead of being in movies and living in a mediocre career, he decided to carve his own path and essentially disowned his parents. He started working in fashion and the music industry, having a pretty solid rap career, including a guest spot spot on Justin Bieber's recent tour. Instead of taking the hate and giving up, he pivoted into a new gig, and so far it seems to be working out pretty well. Considering there is a new Karate Kid movie on its way featuring both the original Daniel LaRusso, played by Ralph Macchio, and the remakes Mr. Miyagi, played by Jackie Chan, maybe Jaden will be returning as an older, wiser Karate Kid ready to lead the latest generation of Miyagi-Do. Number 9. Kim Kardashian. Kim is one of the few Kardashian crew members that has attempted to branch out into the world of other performing arts. No, not in a musical theater performance, although that would be fantastic. It was actually the film Disaster Movie that gave her a spotlight. She was in the movie for about 15 minutes because even the people who made that movie knew that she was not going to be a great addition to the cast. As the years went by, she was rarely involved in another movie. This year, she was casted to participate in American Horror Story as a main character, something that people were excited about at first. After the episode hit the air and her role was revealed, the feeling shifted. Her acting is considered to be some of the worst acting ever put to screen. She's just Kim Kardashian in a weird costume and makeup, that's it. The woman is clearly successful in her own world outside of Hollywood, so maybe she should chill there and make money doing that. You never saw Donald Trump make a move to the Marvel Universe? Oh wait, he had a TV show. Number 8. Dakota Johnson. Dakota led the charge when the 50 Shades of Grey novels were adapted into live-action movies. 3 of them exist. Most superhero movies don't even get a third movie, but there are 3 50 Shades of Greys, each one worse than the last. Now, I don't know. I honestly have never seen past the first 20 minutes of the first movie, so they could be good for all I know, but probably not. Parents, Melanie Griffiths and Don Johnson, were not a massive part in Dakota getting work, but their names certainly did not mean nothing. Before I go on, I just want to remind anyone watching this, I don't have anything against Dakota Johnson or anyone else on this list, okay? If you look up Nepo babies, she's just on the list of Nepo babies out there and is an example of a questionable one, so chill. Her acting is trash. No, I'm just kidding. But the internet thinks so. She's popped up in a new trailer for a film called Madam Web, and so far the consensus is that she is a weird choice that will be a bad movie and another 50 Shades movie should not be produced. Number 7. Maude Apatow. The dynamic comedy duo of Leslie Mann and director Judd Apatow have been behind some Hollywood giants. Movies like Funny People, Knocked Up, This Is 40, all graced by one of Hollywood's more functionable couples working together to this day. They even had 2 kids together, Maude and Iris. The two have starred in a few movies alongside their mother, most prominently in This Is 40, but Maude has decided to follow in her mother's footsteps and has begun to appear more and more in films and TV. She was most recently in a season of Euphoria and in the film King of Staten Island. She was also in a Netflix movie called The Bubble, but that movie only brings up bad memories and is really not a movie you should put on your resume. She has and will continue to work a lot and seems to be going nowhere but up. She's not the worst actor on this list, and I honestly think she will be very popular very soon, but again, a Nepo baby that acts, so she counts. Number 6, Lily Collins. Lily is of course the daughter of one of the most famous musicians in the world, Phil Collins, the man who single-handedly carried the Disney movie Tarzan on his voice. Lily was only 23 when she debuted in a leading role, taking the charge of the 2012 movie Mirror Mirror. The film contained an epic cast with Julia Roberts and Okay, maybe not an epic cast. Her performance in the film was not well received. In fact, the film overall was not well received, considering it is a Disney movie outside of the world of the remakes that have been coming out in the past few years. Her performance wasn't bad, and considering the film's overall Disney-ness, she was actually one of the better parts of the movie. Following the film, she was casted as a lead in a ton of movies: Love Rosie's, The Blind Side, Priest, all movies that exist. Some are better than others, but the majority are not great. As time has gone on, she's been casted less and less, with her most recent film being in 2022. So now that we've talked about some people who can act, why don't we celebrate the Nepo babies in Hollywood who absolutely deserve to have their jobs. Number 5, Maya Hawke. Daughter to Ethan Hawke, who is an incredible actor and who recently made me very uncomfortable in The Black Phone, and Uma Thurman, aka one of the most incredible katana wielders in film history. Maya has appeared in a few movies and TV shows over the years, but she was featured most prominently in the last 2 seasons of Stranger Things on Netflix as Robin Buckley, and she was the first person to have their life ended in the first installment of Netflix's horror trilogy Fear Street, which is fantastic. If you haven't checked it out, go do it. She she is one of those Nepo babies who somehow got acting genes from both of her parents. She is so talented and her career hasn't even started yet, considering she's only 25. She's been in a ton of good movies, with her next big role being in the Pixar film Inside Out 2 as the physical embodiment of anxiety. Such good casting. Her parents may no longer be together, but according to Maya, that has had no impact on her relationship with them. Both of her parents have stellar careers in their own respects. Ethan is now a villain in the Marvel Universe, and Uma Thurman is, well, Uma Thurman. That woman is insanely talented, even as Poison Ivy in Batman and Robin. She could have been worse. She could have been George Clooney in Batman and Robin. Number 4, Jack Quaid. Jack is another Nepo baby that made waves since the first day that he decided to be a performer. Like his father Dennis Quaid and his mama Meg Ryan, you know, the second lead of every Tom Hanks rom-com. Jack first popped up in the very first Hunger Games movie as one of the 4 jerks that tries to hunt Katniss off the top. But that's not his defining role, it's everything that he did after that that's epic. Jack has had the chance to star in some pretty awesome projects over the years, and in the last 4 years alone, his popularity and resume have grown. He was recently a featured actor in the film Oppenheimer, one of the main characters of the Scream reboot, and of course stars as Huey in the live-action TV adaptation of The Boys. If you've never seen The Boys, stop watching this video and go to your Amazon Prime right now, okay? It's not only an incredible show, but it boasts an all-star cast that are perfectly placed in their roles. Anthony Starr in particular is horrifying sometimes. Jack, on the other hand, plays his character very well, and considering the show's popularity, it won't be long before you see his name in the credits of most major motion pictures, or maybe The Boys will go on to have like 19 seasons. I would be very okay with that. Jack is also an example of a Nepo baby who actually refused any help from his parents. He got his own agent, he signed his own contracts, did all of his own jazz. Number 3, Zoe Deutsch. Zoe does not share the same last name as her famous mother, but you should most certainly recognize Leah Thompson, who is the woman who played Marty McFly's mom in Back to the Future. She's been in a ton of other things, but that will always be how I know who she is. Zoe got her start in the early 20-teens being a side character or secondary lead in a lot of movies like Dirty Grandpa, Everybody Wants Some, and the film Flower. She's not a bad actress at all. In fact, she's fun and light. She pops up in movies as a gag from time to time. In Zombieland 2, she was a dumb blonde that turns out to be allergic to peanuts, and it's just hilarious. Not much can be said about her other than she is not bad and that she seems to be on track to a long career, starring in at least 2 movies a year, which is more than a lot of people can say. Number 2, John David Washington. John is so good at his job, you would be forgiven for not knowing that his dad is famous, but he got his good acting genes from somewhere, and that somewhere is the equalizer himself, Denzel Washington. John David took a while to get out and follow in his father's footsteps. He made a handful of appearances when he was younger in various forms of media and throughout the years, but it wasn't until his performance in Tenet that his name really popped into the mainstream. He released a very good movie back in 2018 called BlacKkKlansman, but from what I can tell, that movie flew pretty far under the radar when it was released. Since Tenet, John David has been casted in several projects as a leading man, with his next film, The Creator, set to hit theaters soon, and it looks fantastic. But hey, trailers can be deceiving, so I guess we'll see what happens. Number 1, Zoe Kravitz. Do I have to tell you who Zoe's parents are? Or is the last name just good enough? Yeah, Lenny Kravitz is considered to be one of the best musicians in modern history, and for Zoe is considered to be a great dad. Zoe used to attend red carpet events with her parents, parties, concerts, all the fun stuff that comes with rock star parents. Now, while they were strict at times, it seems that she had a great relationship with her parents, who encouraged her to just do what made her happy and what she loved. Zoe does have a bit of a career working in music, but you might know her better as an actor, from films like Divergent, Batman, and even X-Men First Class. She has remained busy to this day, and so far, there are no signs of her career slowing down anytime soon. Number 10, Miley Cyrus. This one's pretty straightforward. Hannah Montana herself, Miley Cyrus, disowned her father Billy Ray after he decided to marry a woman who was on the show Hannah Montana with Miley when she was in her teens. Billy Ray had a stellar country career before Miley got her own show, and some would argue that as time's gone on, she started to outshine her dad. I'm just kidding, there's no argument, she is definitely more famous than her father now. Billy decided to pull a weird move and started dating a woman named Fire Rose, who acted alongside Miley on Hannah Montana. Miley stopped speaking to her father the moment she saw them together, especially after she discovered how much Billy spends on her jewelry and overall gifts. Number 9, Abigail Hopkins. The daughter of Anthony Hopkins used to be spotted with her father constantly. From the time that she was little to her early 20s, she would accompany her dad at red carpet events and film premieres, getting to spend some time with Hollywood's best and brightest. However, the two have not spoken in like 20 years, being bitterly estranged this entire time. In fact, Anthony and his daughter Abigail are so far removed from each other that Anthony recently said he didn't know if she had any kids and didn't care. He also said that he had no idea where she even lived, like he just really doesn't care about his own kid. The tragedy in her life started early when her father divorced her birth mother as a child, and she started living with her mom because Anthony was just never home and he was usually under the influence of something. He became so enamored by No Juice, it took over his life, and his role as a parent was basically non-existent. In this case, they kinda disowned each other. Number 8, all of Brangelina's kids. Well, there's been a lot of stuff being released about Brad Pitt and his adoptive kids this week, and it seems like they may have disowned him for pretty good reasons. Brad's adoptive son, Pax, has gone on record to say that his dad is an a-hole who makes his kids tremble in fear. In an Instagram post, he ranted about Brad's role in his life, and according to him, Brad is just an unhinged man who can snap at a moment's notice. He wrote that Brad made the lives of those closest to him a living hell, and he wrote, "Happy Father's Day, you effing awful human being," that Brad Pitt has time and time again proven himself to be a terrible, despicable person and has no consideration or empathy towards his youngest children who tremble in fear when they're in his presence. He will never understand the damage that he's done to his family because he is incapable of doing so. Brad responded to the comments, acting like a parent, saying that he was disappointed in his kids feeling they had to drag his name through the mud. Pax didn't say if there was a specific event that caused the rant, but considering the split that took place between him and Angelina in 2016, the rant is more than likely not baseless and probably has some darker truths behind it. Number 7, the Kardashians. Now I know what you're thinking, how could any of the Kardashians disown their parents? Who else would it be other than Caitlyn Jenner? When the new Kardashian series on Hulu was announced, she expressed her joy for the family, but simultaneously her disappointment with the way things have turned out family-wise. She was there when the journey first started on the very first episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians and watched it grow for almost 20 seasons. One of the highlights of her life. And the show was canceled in 2020, but only 3 months later the family signed a new contract to make global content exclusively with Hulu. The Kardashian-Jenner crew have all but disowned Caitlyn, as not only was she not included in the series, but apparently she hasn't spoken to her kids since 2020. Number 6, Hailey Hasselhoff. Being the daughter of the guy from Baywatch sounds like it's the coolest thing in the world, right? Spending long days on the beach, the sun beaming, you get to meet SpongeBob. It's wonderful. But as it turns out, it's actually extremely difficult and it comes with its own set of issues. Hailey was born in 1992 when David Hasselhoff was at the height of his career. Being on Baywatch alone brought in over 1 billion viewers. Hailey had a lot of advantages. Not only was her dad famous, but she grew up in a really nice part of Hollywood, having the film Clueless literally filmed in the house next door. Unfortunately, being born into that kind of environment has left Hailey anxious and mentally struggling when she was growing up. During an interview with People, she explained that she had hardcore social anxiety growing up and found it paralyzing to go to school. She ate to cope with the anxiety, and when she was 11, she was mistreated for her weight. Growing up in Hollywood really just didn't help. She said it was an environment where people wanted to fit in rather than stand out, being surrounded by fakers. As time went on, she wanted to be a part of her father's work, but she was exposed to the dark side of Hollywood when David's no juice habits took over his life. She stopped speaking to her father regularly around that time, and her parents divorced, and these days she works in her own world of fashion modeling, small screen cameos, and of course, sharing body positivity messages. So, good for her. Number 5, Jamie Lynn Spears. Both of the Spears sisters have been through a rough go. Mom loves no juice, and dad's a menace to this planet, but Jamie takes the spot on this list because she's actually disowned her entire family Brittany included. Growing up with her sister in the spotlight was never easy for Jamie, even after she got cast to be the lead of the show Zoe 101, which is, I genuinely thought she was more famous than Brittany when I saw that show. But it turns out that was just a ploy to gain her parents' approval. Instead of gaining that approval, she got a taste of what her sister had to deal with. Her parents were just happy that there was more money coming into their pockets. The older Jamie got, the more complicated life became. When Brittany was under conservatorship, she did everything that she could to be on her parents' side and make Brittany feel worse, even writing a tell-all book before Brittany did. She has never publicly disowned them or signed any paperwork, but she is also a grown woman now and just really doesn't need to do any of that. Number 4, Jack Quaid. You may know Jack from quite a few projects in the past few years. I personally know him best as Huey on the incredible Amazon series The Boys, but he's actually been carving a path for himself, appearing in movies like Scream from 2022, Oppenheimer, and even The Hunger Games. This man is a true treat, but I honestly didn't know that he came from famous parents, and then I saw who his dad was and I felt like a moron, a feeling that I get fairly often. His parents are Dennis Quaid from The Parent Trap and Meg Ryan from every rom-com starring Tom Hanks. You would think being the son of two very well-respected performers would mean that life is but a breeze, but Jack actually decided to distance himself from his family and do his own thing. He knew he wanted to be an actor from a young age and follow in his parents' footsteps. Thankfully, he grew up in a house where that was a real job prospect and they were all for it. But Jack knew that he had an advantage over everyone else and he didn't want to misuse that privilege. In fact, Dennis tried to get him an agent, but Jack refused to accept the help. He eventually found an agent and made his on-screen debut in the first Hunger Games movie. He didn't have a ton of lines, but he was very present throughout most of the runtime. Eventually, he made his way to Amazon, and the rest is history. Still being made. Number 3, Ireland Baldwin. The daughter of Alec Baldwin and Kim Basinger has been through a lot of ups and downs with her parents. Her father is well known for being a bit loud and unnecessarily mean to his daughters, and for, mishandling props. Her father famously left her a voicemail calling her an ungrateful pig and a bunch of other things that I can't quote, but it actually isn't the phone call that strained her from her parents. It was a medical situation. While making an appearance on the now canceled talk show Red Table Talk, she got candid about her parents and her upbringing. Like many Hollywood kids, she was filled with anxiety and had a deep-rooted fear that people were out to get her or just wanted to simply be with her to be with her parents. This especially made it hard for her to individualize from her parents. She continued to reveal that she had a lot of body image issues growing up and still does, despite being a high-paid model. The divorce between Kim and Alec was difficult, and Ireland was dragged into it, creating a toxic environment at home that left her struggling even more than she already was. She stopped speaking to her parents and created her own career outside of her family. Number 2, Suri Cruise. Despite sharing a child with his ex-wife Katie Holmes, Tom Cruise has not seen his daughter Suri in over 10 years, according to online sources. The reason being, well, they just don't share the same religious beliefs. Tom is a member of the scientific community, if you know what I mean, and his daughter just isn't. When he divorced from Katie, he was informed that he was not allowed to keep in contact if the family did not want to be involved with his views. And on top of this, in recent years, it's been revealed that Tom doesn't even view Suri as his daughter. She is merely a spiritual being inside the body of his daughter. Jeez. At least that's what a book says. Tom says the reason he hasn't spoken to his daughter is because of his busy work schedule. The initial 100-day absence that was reported in the early 2010s was apparently due to Tom filming in London. It was impossible to just see his daughter, but Suri has not come forward publicly to speak out about her dad. Then again, she isn't even in her 20s yet, so why don't we just let her keep her privacy for now? And number 1, Elijah Blue. Musician and artist Elijah Blue opened up about his life being the son of one of the greatest musicians of all time, Cher. Elijah told the people at ET that there were times growing up he felt shunned by his parents, being sent to a boarding school at the age of 7. I didn't know those things were real. I always thought that they just made him up in movies to scare kids, so that's messed up. It's no wonder that he felt abandoned. His mom was Cher, and while she was out touring the world, he was living in a school. That is a nightmare I regularly have. As time has gone on, he has come to terms with his position and accepted it fully, but just because he's accepted it, it doesn't mean that it's okay. He said while in boarding school, he'd fly home to see his family in New York on vacations. Well, not his family. He would fly in and throw his stuff down just to leave the house and visit his friends. At an early age, he partook in narcotics and no-no juice that left him rebellious. In his time being a rebel, he developed a case of Lyme disease that forced him to seek treatment in Germany. And he has actually been thankful for that experience because he met his current wife while in Germany, so that's cute. When he was home with his parents, he remembers the house always being full of other people. Not love-making sessions and no-no stuff and rock and roll, but still, big parties with lots of adults. As time went on, he spoke less and less with his family, but was still able to create a career for himself.
Number 10. Lily Rose Depp. Like a lot of the stars on today's list, Lily Rose has been known to not acknowledge the fact that she comes from privilege. More so, on many occasions, she's actually fought against the theory of nepotism, playing the biggest hand in her successful career today. Though whether this is true or not is obviously kinda hard to tell. I personally feel like Lily Rose Depp definitely has the look to be in film and be a model, and so that she has working for her. She brought that. I mean, she was born with the way she looks, and she probably works on the way she looks too. And her name and connection to both her celebrity parents has probably also helped to open at least some doors for her. She's the daughter of actor Johnny Depp and singer, model, and actor Vanessa Paradis, and made her film debut in Tusk, which her dad also starred in alongside her. Both Depps starred in the spin-off Yoga Hosers. The model, who's now a Chanel brand ambassador, met the late Chanel creative director Karl Lagerfeld through her mom. She told Elle, "The internet cares a lot more about who your family is than the people who are casting you in things. Maybe you get your foot in the door, but you still just have your foot in the door. There's a lot of work that comes after that." Previously, she told Australian Vogue, "It is obviously a really easy assumption to make to think that I would just have roles landing on my doorstep because of my name. But that's an idea I've always kind of rejected. I've always been under the impression that I have to work twice as hard to prove to people that I'm not just here because it's easy for me. I feel like you're not what your name is. If you're not right for something, they're not just going to hire you because your name looks good on the post." And friends, before we move on to our next spot on this list, if you like what we do here at BTS, be sure to click that like button. Number 9. Maggie Gyllenhaal. While some might seem more debatable in terms of how much their nepotism truly paved the way, there are others who, while having a famous name to lean on, actively try to prove their merit and actively challenge themselves creatively. To me, Maggie is one of those people. She's not only extremely talented, but she also comes across as being low-key and down to earth. And she hasn't really just settled for safe roles, but has actively sought out more complex ones and diverse ones, even expanding into a director role as well with time. A lot of people seem to forget that both Jake Gyllenhaal and his sister Maggie were born into a family that already worked in the industry, and not only that, I believe they were also born into Swedish royalty as well. Maggie even attributes much of what inspired her to her mother, Naomi Foner, who is a screenwriter and director who received an Academy Award nomination and won a Golden Globe for her screenplay Running on Empty, and directed Very Good Girls, which starred Dakota Fanning and Elizabeth Olsen. Number 8. Gwyneth Paltrow. Gwyneth Paltrow is the daughter of actor Blythe Danner and director and producer Bruce Paltrow. She made her film debut in the TV movie High, which was written and directed by her own father. On Hailey Bieber's YouTube show Who's in My Bathroom, what a weird name for a YouTube show by the way, she said, "As the child of someone, you get access other people don't have, so the playing field is not level in that way. However, I really do feel that once your foot is in the door, which you unfairly got in, then you almost have to work twice as hard and be twice as good." She continued, "People are ready to pull you down and say you don't belong there, or you are only there because of your dad or your mom." I do think Gwyneth had to work hard to prove herself, but I also feel like her nepotism has allowed her to get away with some pretty wild things in regards to building her own brand. Number 7. River Phoenix. Some may not consider River Phoenix a child of nepotism, considering that growing up, his life was honestly kind of rough, and his parents were described by him as hippie-ish. They weren't well-known performers or directors or producers, but that doesn't mean that nepotism didn't play a role in River's success. It was actually his mother, who had a job as a secretary at NBC, that was able to use her position and her connections to get her children a place in the spotlight, calling a casting director at Paramount and getting her son a job in the industry when he was only 8. Basically, putting them in front of the right people. That being said, both River and Joaquin were definitely talented youths, even I'm sure their sisters were, who I believe more than earned their place. Now, in River's case, fame actually ended up being a massive burden on him, one that he actually never sought out, but was more thrown into by his mother, and that cost him dearly in the end, likely playing a key role in him losing his life at the age of 23. Number 6. Hailey Bieber. Some may not know Hailey Bieber is the the daughter of actor, director, and producer Stephen Baldwin, and the niece of actors Alec, Daniel, and William Baldwin. Before she was married to Justin, her name was Haley Baldwin. However, she followed more closely in the footsteps of her model cousin Ireland Baldwin and her model sister Aliyah Baldwin. In 2016, before she married Justin Bieber and changed her name, she told Grazia, "I want to do everything on my own without my name being a factor. I try to keep myself separate from it." She continued, "Kids that already have a famous background are just following in their family's footsteps. My dad and all of his brothers have done this. This is my family business." Some could interpret this as literally using your family's footsteps to pave your way, as opposed to carving your own path. But, you know, it could kind of go either way, really. I understand what people are saying. You know, they come from a family, obviously you're gonna use those connections. But to what extent? To what extent? That's what we're asking here. Number 5, Rashida Jones. Initially, Rashida Jones didn't even want to be involved in the family business. You might recognize her from the cast of Parks and Recreation, but before ever entering the industry, she was working towards a job in the justice system as a lawyer or possibly even a judge. In fact, she even went to Harvard. She worked really hard to be in that other field. Her father is famous music producer Quincy Jones, and her mother is actress Peggy Lipton, who you might recognize from Twin Peaks, where she played the owner of the Double R Diner, Norma Jennings. It wasn't until later in her life that Rashida decided to change careers and work towards a role in the film industry. Although she comes from folks who work in this industry, Rashida attempted to always apply her father's advice to any job that she worked in. She said he had always advised his daughter that whatever you do, you have to work really hard to get really good at it. Number 4, Kendall Jenner. Kendall Jenner is the daughter of reality star Kris Jenner and Olympic gold medalist Caitlyn Jenner. Of course, the model is more well known for her connections to her reality star sisters Kim, Khloe, and Kourtney Kardashian, and Kylie Jenner. She has said before, "Of course I had a platform and I never took that for granted. I always knew that was there, but that almost made my job a little bit harder, only because people probably didn't want to hire me because I was on a reality TV show." Well, that definitely sounds like it would make being taken seriously a bit of a challenge. Many people also never get the opportunity to even be on a reality TV show. Well, I have no doubt this created challenges for Kendall as she worked towards becoming a model, and mental hurdles in regards to, you know, awful things people likely said and say about her online. It's also important to consider that her role on the show likely also opened some doors as well. Number 3, Zoe Kravitz. Zoe Kravitz is the daughter of actor Lisa Bonet and singer Lenny Kravitz. She shares a publicist with her dad. Her standout roles include her part in the Hulu series High Fidelity, which was a TV series remake of the 2000 movie that her mom starred in, and Catwoman in The Batman. Although Zoe had also voiced Catwoman previous to that in the Lego Batman movie. Her first role, however, was a small part in the film No Reservations, where she played a gothic academic babysitter named Charlotte. That being said, I feel that Zoe Kravitz has proven herself as an actress kind of many times over at this point. And while I'm sure her having family in the industry helped her to launch a career, she still started with smaller roles and had to work her way up to becoming Catwoman. In fact, Zoe also has opened up about her own struggles working in the industry, sharing that when she sought to audition for a smaller role in Dark Knight Rises, she was actually turned away, being told that casting wasn't going urban on the part. Number 2, Kylie Jenner. Kylie Jenner, like her sister Kendall Jenner, is kinda cut from a pretty similar cloth, becoming famous at a young age on the reality TV show Keeping Up with the Kardashians. A few years ago, Forbes labeled her as the youngest self-made billionaire in history, which of course prompted many people to call out Forbes for mislabeling her, saying that, you know, it's easy to become a billionaire when your parents are millionaires and you come from privilege. That being said, Kylie did smartly use the status she garnered from the show to elevate herself and her brand. So, is she somewhat self-made, or is she not at all self-made? That being said, is anyone really self-made in a world where wealth tends to remain with the wealthy? Number 1, Bill Skarsgård. Bill Skarsgård is a talented actor who was also born into a giant film and television and just in general artistic family. The Skarsgårds. I would say his breakout role was as Pennywise the Clown in 2017's It remake, but even before then, he'd been working and hustling in smaller and less well-scripted projects since the year 2000. We gotta go way back. Well, he definitely got help with his name. I'd also just say being a member of the Skarsgård clan gives you a leg up because you're surrounded by a lot of other talented performers. And I think ultimately when we talk about nepotism, it's important to consider that a lot of these people are just inspired by the people around them that help them get to where they are. Both sides of it. Also depends on what you bring to the table. How much work are you putting in? I think we gotta consider that part too.
Number 10. Lily Rose Depp. Lily Rose Depp is an actress and model who is the daughter of Vanessa Paradis and Johnny Depp. At 16, she landed her first campaign with Chanel, the same house her mother, Vanessa Paradis, worked with. The year before, she made her film debut alongside her father, Johnny Depp. In a November Elle profile, she brushed off suggestions that her path had been cleared for her. It just doesn't make any sense. She also said, "The internet cares a lot more about who your family is than the people who are casting you in things. Maybe you get your foot in the door, but you still just have your foot in the door. There's a lot of work that comes after that." And yup, that's how nepotism works. You are given advantages that others are not, and getting your foot in the door is part of that. These comments angered people, and on TikTok, people begged her to shut up and stop being delusional, which I have to agree with. Number 9. Olivia Jade. Olivia Jade is a YouTuber and daughter of fashion designer Massimo Ginali and actress Lori Loughlin. While in high school, Jade began a social media career on YouTube and Instagram. She is an influencer, and in the blog Pop Culture Died in 2009, it describes Olivia as our era's answer to the bling ring icon Alexis Haynes. While Alexis embodied the aughts unsightly hybrid of sleaze and luxe, Olivia exposed the lie at the heart of relatable social media fame, the stars pretending to be just like you and me while shacked in a palace in Beverly Hills. And also there's the college scandal. Yes, I have to bring this up. For those of you who don't know, the college scandal consisted of parents bribing athletic coaches to recruit students regardless of their athletic ability, and entrance exam administrators to falsify ACT and SAT answers. Just, straight up fraud. Lori and her husband paid $500,000, to get their 2 daughters into the University of Southern California as members of the college rowing team, despite neither of the girls ever rowing before. They even staged photos, which were hilarious to me by the way, and it totally makes her complicit. Olivia knew what she and her family were doing and actively participated in it, which is just gross. Number 8. Ben Platt. Ben Platt is an actor, singer, and songwriter. He actually began his career in musical theater as a child, and he is the son of Julie and Mark Platt. His father is a film, television, and theater producer whose credits include Legally Blonde, Into the Woods, La La Land, and the musical Wicked. So no wonder he's famous. Now Ben has been linked to the musical Dear Evan Hansen, where he played the lead role from 2015 to 2017. Critics hailed his work, calling it historic and one of the greatest leading male performances ever seen in a musical. For his performance, he won numerous awards, including the Tony Award for Best Actor in a Leading Role in a Musical, becoming the youngest solo winner in that category. Then, it would be announced that the film version of Dear Evan Hansen would come out in 2021. And guess who was producing it? Ben's father, Mark. So of course, Ben once again took on the role of Evan Hansen. Now once the trailer dropped, people called out Ben, who was 27 at the time, for playing a high schooler. They also said it was nepotism that got him that role. It could have been a perfect opportunity to give a new young actor a leading role that would change their lives, but nope. Ben took it for himself. Responding to the criticism, he said, "I think the reaction is largely from people who don't understand the context of the piece, the fact that I created the role and workshopped it for 3 years. Were I not to do the movie, it probably wouldn't get made." Which, no, if your father wasn't producing it, then you wouldn't have been in it. End of story. Number 7. Maude Apatow. Maude Apatow is an actress who just so happens to be the eldest daughter of filmmaker Judd Apatow and actress Leslie Mann. She began her career as a child actress, playing the daughter of her mother's characters in her father's films, Knocked Up, Funny People, and This Is 40. This opened more doors for her and set her up with people in high places. After joining Twitter, she was noted to have a large online following, which helped her become a contributor to Zooey Deschanel's website Hello Giggles as a writer and interviewer. Her work on the site as well as her acting roles earned her a spot on the Forbes 30 Under 30 list in 2012, and she continued to appear in projects her father's produced, and when she was in the 2016 comedy drama film Other People, it was her first large film role not involving her father. But without her parents and their guidance, she would be nowhere near as famous as she is today. Number 6. Lottie Moss. Lottie Moss is a model who, through her father, is the younger half-sister of model Kate Moss, and that's how she garnered her fame. She had a modeling career as a teen, and she now does OnlyFans. But it seems like she hasn't put two and two together in terms of people who don't have those advantages being resentful of those who do. Amid a lot of conversation about the Nepo baby backlash, Lottie took to Twitter not to defend herself or her fellow Nepo babies, but to attack regular people. She said, "I'm so sick of people blaming nepotism for why they aren't rich and famous or successful. Obviously, it's not fair that people who come from famous families are getting a leg up because of that, but guess what? Life isn't fair. If you put your mind to something, you can accomplish anything. So instead of being negative about other people's success, go and try to create your own." But she didn't even create her own success. How hypocritical. Number 5. Gwyneth Paltrow. Gwyneth Paltrow is an actress and businesswoman. She's the daughter of Blythe Danner and film producer-director Bruce Paltrow. Her acting debut was in High, a TV film her father directed, and after spending several summers watching her mother perform at the Williams Theatre Festival in Massachusetts, Gwyneth made her professional stage debut there in 1990. Her film debut followed with the musical romance film Shout. Now, to be honest, I don't have an issue with her being a Nepo baby with her acting. I have an issue with her business. She is the founder and CEO of the lifestyle company Goop, which has been criticized for promoting pseudoscience and harmful wellness tips. Gwyneth has opened up about what she usually eats every day, noting that most of her daily meals consist of a morning coffee, a bone broth soup for lunch, and a paleo-style meal of vegetables for dinner. "It's really important for me to support my detox," the actress mentioned, leaving some social media users to compare her diet to a colonoscopy prep. And I'll say it, it's disordered eating, and she's projecting and encouraging other women to do this, and that's just wrong. Number 4. Jamie Lynn Spears. Jamie Lynn Spears is an actress and singer. Now, she didn't get her fame from her parents, but from her sister, Britney Spears. In February 2002, at age 11, Jamie Lynn made her acting debut in the Paramount Picture drama film Crossroads, which starred her sister Britney. Following this, she got her own Nickelodeon show, which was ultimately cancelled after she got pregnant at 16 years old. Then in 2011, Jamie Lynn moved to Nashville with her daughter Maddie and began working on a country music album with a number of local music producers. In July 2021, Worthy Publishing announced her plans to release a memoir, releasing a statement saying Jamie Lynn's book has been in development over the past 12 months and will allow the world to hear her inspiring story in her own words for the first time. Her memoir, entitled Things I Should Have Said, Family, Fame, and Figuring It Out, was released on January 18, 2022. Rolling Stone recommended the book, but highlighted that Jamie Lynn used her sister Britney Spears' highly publicized struggles and conservatorship to promote her new book, which was disgusting. She was once again using her sister to gain fame. Number 3. Kaia Gerber. Kaia Gerber is a model and actress who is the daughter of model Cindy Crawford and businessman Randy Gerber. Speaking to LUS, the model, whose career began at age 10 with a Versace shoot, agreed that her career thus far has certainly been helped by the status of her parents. "I won't deny the privilege that I have, even if it's just the fact that I have a really great source of information and someone to give me great advice. That alone I feel very fortunate for," she said. Adding, "My mom always joked if I could call and book a Chanel campaign, it would be for me and not you. But I've also met amazing people through my mom whom I now get to work with." But in Kaia's eyes, her next career move, a pivot into acting, which she kicked off with an appearance in the Academy Award-winning director Damien Chazelle's Babylon, has not been helped by her parents' big names. With acting, it's so different. No artist is going to sacrifice their vision for someone's kid. That's just how art is made, and what I'm interested is in the art, she said. Yes, nepotism is prevalent, but I think if it actually was what people make it out to be, we'd see even more of it. Naturally, the internet has a lot to say about her take, with one Twitter user writing Kaia Gerber still doesn't quite understand nepotism. She doesn't understand she got instant access to the highest levels of modeling and got instant access to people like Ryan Murphy. She doesn't understand industry levels because she was born at the top, and that is so very true. Number 2. Kendall Jenner. Kendall Jenner is a model, media personality, and socialite. She's the daughter of Kris and Caitlyn Jenner and was on a little show called Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Due to this, she rose to fame, and with her family's connections, she was able to become a model. And there's no denying that, as it was directly shown on the reality series. She began modeling at the age of 14, and she made her debut at number 16 on Forbes magazine's 2015 list of top earning models with an estimated annual income of $4 million. In 2017, Kendall was named the world's highest paid model by Forbes, and now recently an interview that she did back in 2018 has resurfaced. During an interview with Love magazine, Kendall said she was never one of those girls who would do like 30 shows a season or whatever those girls do. More power to them, but I had a million jobs, not only catwalks but everything else. Now, this made many people angry, including fellow models. The main reason why she's getting backlash again is due to the whole nepotism baby discussion, as Kendall only became a model because of who her family was, and she was able to be selective in what shows she did. Other models didn't have that luxury and had to do 30 shows or whatever in order to survive and get their name out there. Many people feel like she's being spoiled over the whole thing, and I agree. And coming in at number 1 is Hailey Bieber. Hailey Bieber is a model, media personality, and socialite, but before she was Hailey Bieber, she was Hailey Baldwin. The Baldwins are one of the most established families in Hollywood, with the well-known Baldwin brothers Alec, Daniel, Billy, and Steven, Hailey's dad, taking the film and TV world by storm around the 80s and 90s particularly. Now, Hailey has even been labeled a double Nepo, referring not only to her father, but also her husband Justin Bieber, because that's how she reached her fame. She's literally known for being Justin's wife. Now, after a lot of the Nepo baby discourse, Hailey called the paparazzi on herself to a parking garage so they could take photos of her in jeans and a shirt that said Nepo baby. For a model, she sure didn't do a good job. Now, in the past, she's chatted with Gwyneth Paltrow about the subject, seemingly agreeing with Gwyneth's assessment that children of celebrities must work twice as hard because of their family association. Gwyneth herself has shown support for Hailey following the t-shirt stunt, commenting on InStyle's Instagram page, "I might need a few of these." But honestly, I just think it's pathetic.
Number 10. Alec is homophobic. Alec Baldwin is a proud man, being publicly anti-Trump and a registered Democrat with left-leaning political views. But despite his advocacy for equality, he's been accused of being homophobic on multiple occasions. In June 2012, Alec released a very angry tweet, which he later deleted. It contained comments about the New York Daily News editor-in-chief, Colin Meyer, calling him an English queen. A year later, People magazine reported that Baldwin released another tweet that the Daily Mail was a toxic little queen. Man, he loves that word. That same year, Alec was fired from his MSNBC talk show Up Late with Alec Baldwin after allegedly screaming homophobic slurs at a New York Post photographer. After his show was cancelled, Alec released an article that asked his fans, was he really homophobic? He went on to write, "Look, I'm in show business. I'm awash in gay people as colleagues and friends." He then did the most defensive thing possible by listing all of his gay friends and then described a time when he had to kiss Russell Brand in a scene as a way to be like, "Hey, I kissed a dude, how could I be homophobic?" Hey man, you'd be surprised. He made the argument that he was a public advocate for gay marriage because he officiated a ceremony at one point. But like, hey man, you're an actor. It would make sense that he plays the role of a public advocate to keep his true biases a secret and maintain his career. Number 9. Alec's control issues. While his brothers may have had a more public battle with their substance control issues, Alec also had to battle his demons in the form of multiple narcotics and a taste for adult beverages. In his 2017 memoir, Nevertheless, Alec revealed that not only did he battle with control issues for years, but he also suffered from a nearly fatal overdose after a week-long bender of continuous partying. He wrote that he thinks he would have gotten sober eventually, but that the event was an early wake-up call that he needed to get clean just before he turned 27. He describes his time before that as living in the white-hot period of daily substances and drinks, claiming the experience to be an addictive nightmare that was impossible to get a handle on. Eventually, he was able to get a grasp on his issues and has remained relatively sober ever since. Well, at least California sober at least. Wink wink. Number 8. Alec's temper. In 2007, Alec directed his hot temper at his daughter, Ireland, who he had had with his ex-wife Kim Basinger in a now infamous voicemail that would reveal the usual mild-mannered, soft-spoken man was secretly an angry man. TMZ obtained the audio of the message to Ireland in which Alec screams, "You are a rude, thoughtless little pig. You don't have the brains or decency to be a human being. I don't care if you're a child or that your mother is the toughest pain in the butt." The perception that he may be verbally chastising his daughter came after claims that he was going to straighten her out, which led a family judge to bar Alec from seeing his child. While the family later reconciled in 2012, his daughter has said in recent interviews that the voicemail was never perceived by her as intense, as she was used to those kinds of verbal outbursts from her father. Just to anyone watching this right now that thinks screaming and breaking things is a normal reaction when you're upset, it's not. Please call someone or get help, because that's not okay to act like that, especially towards your own flesh and blood. Seriously, if that's happening to you or someone you know, just call the number down below. Please talk to somebody and let your voice be heard. Number 7. Ireland's rehab stint. Alec Baldwin's daughter, named after his favorite place to pass out, isn't a party girl, but she certainly came close a few times. A source told Radar Online that Ireland was not considered to be an addict per se. She did drown her feelings in the spicy no-no juice that adults just love to glug though. In 2015, Ireland had to be hospitalized for severe stomach pains, which turned out to be a serious case of appendicitis. Despite it just being her appendix, the hospital visit had come after a roughly 6-month bender, and she reportedly told the hospital officials that she needed professional help. Baldwin then found herself checking into Soba Recovery Center in Malibu, California, which treats control issues for various substances, as well as any underlying psychological problems that may lead to them. She was quoted as claiming that she's not much of a party girl, but she needed to deal with some emotional trauma and get some intense therapy to help her speed up her recovery. Thankfully, she progressed beautifully during her time at Soba, thanks to the support of her fellow Baldwinians, especially her mama Kim, who regularly sent her care packages from home with little notes and treats. Hey, got a problem with substance control issues? Eat a Snickers. Number 6. Steven is broke. While he may not be as well known as his brother Alec, Stephen Baldwin has been steadily working in Hollywood since his first appearance in a minor role alongside Tom Cruise in the 1989 film Born on the 4th of July. He went on to star in several indie and medium-budget flicks, like the 1995 thriller The Usual Suspects, the Flintstones prequel Viva Rock Vegas from 2000, and probably most famously the 1996 film Biodome, of which he got a little bit too excited about. You see, Biodome ended up being one of his most lucrative films, and between the first paycheck in the year 2012, he went completely broke. While he's had steady work in smaller roles over the years, appearing to be well off, the paychecks have not always been the biggest. In 2012, Steven was arrested for failing to file his taxes from 2008 to 2010, owing the state over $350,000 in back taxes. It turns out he just loved spending money on literally anything he wanted. Houses, boats, cars, all of this landing him over $2.3 million in personal debt. Following his arrest, Steven pleaded guilty to tax evasion and was forced to pay back $300,000 immediately just to avoid any prison time. Recent reports say that he has moved into a small condo in New York after selling anything that may aid him in repaying the government. Hey, it only took him being arrested to realize that he should probably pay his taxes. How about that? Number 5. Steven can't drive. Alec's baby bro Stephen Baldwin may have had massive financial woes over the years, but he's also been a bit of a bad boy behind the wheel. In 2014, Baldwin was busted for driving with a suspended license in New York City. He was reportedly carrying an expired registration form, which he confidently handed to the police, expecting to be met with nothing but praise and excitement that it was Hollywood superstar Stephen Baldwin, oh my! Instead, he was met with handcuffs, as not only was the car registration expired, but his driving was so erratic and insane that he was charged with aggravated unlicensed operation of a motor vehicle, which is a misdemeanor, as well as driving an unregistered vehicle and driving with a suspended license. This was not the first incident involving his poor skills as a driver, however. A few years prior to that, he was also arrested for making an illegal U-turn. Well, he wasn't arrested for that. He was arrested because his license was beyond expire. In the end, though, he only had to pay a $75 fine that time, as the incident was a misunderstanding and his new license just so happened to appear the day after he was pulled over. Well, that's not suspicious at all. Number 4. Daniel's arrests. The Baldwin family may consist of Hollywood heavyweights and minor league players, but did any of you know about Daniel Baldwin? Because I don't know, I did. didn't. E! News reported that in 1997, Danny went on a no-no-snow-fueled rampage at the famed New York Plaza Hotel, smashing every piece of furniture in sight and completely destroying his room. When police finally arrived following multiple noise complaints, Danny was in his birthday suit, bleeding, and incoherent. He was taken to the hospital where he woke up in handcuffs. He later pleaded guilty to the charges of disorderly conduct and was sentenced to 3 months of rehabilitation to avoid any jail time. This family should have like a little punch card or something, 4 stints in rehab, get the 5th one free. The rehab didn't work, however, as in April 2006, Baldwin was arrested again for possession of no-no snow after another hotel incident, this time in Santa Monica, though charges were never actually pushed onto him. He later confessed to People magazine that his control issues started at a party in 1989. 6 months later, he went to rehab, but it never took. He blames his major relapses and arrests on his prescription for Vicodin, which was given to him following a back injury. From there, he spiraled into everything under the sun, probably including the sun itself. Maybe you can get a buzz from that thing if you look at it too long. Nope, I'm just blind now. Number 3, Daniel's love life. Daniel hasn't only been involved with drama when it comes to the police, he's also got a pretty poor taste in judgment when it comes to his relationships. He's been married 3 times and has 5 children with 4 different women. While his first marriage wasn't very public, his second one was chock full of scandal. He married actress Elizabeth Hitchler in 1990 and divorced her 6 years later. During the same year, he had a son named Atticus with his Homicide: Life on the Street co-star Isabella Hoffman. They had reportedly been involved for over a decade, including during Dan's time married to Elizabeth. It's his 3rd marriage though when things got extreme. Baldwin met a woman named Joanne Smith in California at the rehab facility that he had been staying in. She was the chef, and he was hungry. They married in 2007 and had 2 kids together. In 2011 though, Baldwin again filed for divorce, this time citing Joanne's substance control issues as the main cause. He also alleged that Smith had told Dan she was going to end his life in front of their children and was accused of being physical towards him on numerous occasions, and would fall into violent rages. Police were even called to the house at one point and discovered that Smith was unfit to be around the kids and granted Daniel temporary custody and restraining order against her. Number 2, divided by politics. While Alec may be outspoken as a man against former President Donald Trump, even parodying him on the sketch show Saturday Night Live for a few seasons, his brother Steven is the yin to his yang, as he is a big-time supporter of the Republican bad boy. The differences in their beliefs caused a massive rift in the family unit that the Baldwins fought hard to keep secret from the public eye. Unfortunately, Steven couldn't keep his fingers off of his phone, and he took to Twitter to have a public feud with his brother Billy Baldwin, who was also anti-Trump. The argument ranged from "I'm right, you're wrong" to "Dad would be rolling over in his grave right now if he heard you say that." In 2017, Steven admitted to Hollywood Reporters that he hadn't spoken to his brother Alec in over a year following the dispute. Steven's daughter Hailey Bieber confirmed that even within her immediate family unit, politics caused a lot of issues when Trump was elected. Now that he's out of office and on the verge of jail time, we have to imagine that the Baldwin family are just anxiously beating their heads on the wall like, what is gonna happen? And at number 1, Alec doesn't play by the rules. Alec always presents a calm and soft-spoken demeanor when he's in interviews or interacting with fans, but in his mind, the rules of common society just don't apply to him. A little while back, Alec was kicked off of an American Airlines flight after he refused to turn off his cell phone when the crew asked him to. According to Alec himself, he was playing a game of Word with Friends when the situation took place. Now, he posted on Twitter, "Flight attendant on American reamed me out for playing Words with Friends while we sat at the gate not moving. No wonder American is bankrupt." American Airlines themselves denied the notion that they took the situation too far, claiming that Alec was extremely rude and calling the crew inappropriate names and using offensive language the moment he got on the plane. He later continued his journey on another American Air flight and tweeted that the new crew had already looked smarter than the last one, making it sound like it's not a smart idea to upset him or something. I don't know. What are you gonna do, Alec? Huh? Come get me!
Starting off at number 7, we have a New York City hostess. Back when exposing rich celebrities was trending online, TikTok user Julia Carolan took the opportunity to share her experiences with celebrities that she met when she was a host at a fancy New York City restaurant. One of those rude celebrities was none other than Hailey Baldwin. When talking about her, she said, quote, "This is gonna be controversial. I've met her a handful of times, and every time she was not nice. I really want to like her, but I have to give her like a 3.5 out of 10. sorry. And even though Hailey was not the only rude celebrity mentioned, Hailey decided to apologize to the user by writing in the comments of that video, quote, "Just came across this video and wanted to say I'm so sorry if I've ever given you bad vibes or a bad attitude. That's not ever my intention. Hate hearing that was your experience with me, but glad you called me out so I can do better. Hopefully we'll meet again so I can apologize in person." And then Caroline responded thanking her for being accountable and taking the time to apologize. And for this one, she might have exposed that Hailey is maybe a little two-faced, maybe a little rude, but because Hailey apologized, I think we can all safely say that, you know, she's learned and grown and changed, and I think we can accept that apology. And at number 6, paparazzi. One group of people that absolutely hates Alec Baldwin is the paparazzi, as he has assaulted numerous paparazzi on a few occasions. The first and most famous went down in October of 1995 when a photographer was waiting outside of his home to get a glimpse of their newborn daughter. Baldwin started by spraying shaving cream on the paparazzi's windows, then a scuffle started, and Baldwin punched him right in the nose, while Alec denies this and says that he just slapped the camera out of his hand. Baldwin was later acquitted of misdemeanor battery charges in the case and won an invasion of privacy suit against Zanger, though Zanger won a civil case against Baldwin for damages that cost the actor $4,500. The next run-in was in June of 2012, and the paparazzi said about Baldwin, quote, "He comes after me, starts shoving and punching me, one time right in the chin." But Baldwin denied this and said that he was accosted by the paparazzi. Alec later said in a tweet the paparazzi should be, quote, "waterboarded." Yikes. So clearly, a lot of tension between those two groups. And at number 5, Dr. Daniel Barrett. A plastic surgeon who has gone viral from his videos talking about celebrity plastic surgeries got in some major hot water after he made a video about Hailey Bieber. In the viral TikTok, he compared pictures of Hailey then versus now, and pointed out what he thought was different about her face, saying, quote, "Pay special attention to the nose. What do you think?" "Well, I'll tell you what I think. I think it's physically impossible without getting a little bit of help from someone like myself to go from this picture to that picture." Adding that he thinks she had a rhinoplasty as well as jawline contouring, skin tightening, a lip filler, and a chin implant. And apparently the Biebers are so threatened by this man's opinion that both Justin and Hailey threatened to sue him for the video. The couple accused the doctor of using Hailey's likeness, making claims about her, and using, quote, "copyright protected lyrics from Justin's song Sorry" in the caption. And the fact that he's trying to sue for a caption, like, that's a lot, Justin, come on. The couples reportedly sent him a cease and desist letter regarding his video, but because he did nothing wrong, it's not been taken down. Hailey somewhat responded to this on Instagram, where she claimed a lot of after photos are edited by the makeup artist, and she doesn't actually look like that. Either way, suing him is ridiculous. And at number 4, Harvey Levin. Even though I'm sure Harvey Levin doesn't have a vendetta against Alec Baldwin or the family in general, he owns gossip site TMZ, who's known for breaking tons of terrible stories about Alec. It was TMZ that exposed him for using the F-word slur, and it started the hate train against the star, even though the allegation turned out to be false. TMZ also leaked the voice memo that Alec left to his daughter Ireland, where he called her tons of horrible names, including a thoughtless little pig, which not only hurt Alec's reputation, but made his daughter Ireland even more hurt and embarrassed than she was before. And at number 3, Alec Baldwin himself. With the amount of insane scandals that Alec Baldwin has been in, I think it's safe to say that he gave us all the warning that we really needed. One incident was when he punched a random guy in the face after they got into a heated fight over a parking spot. Baldwin said that he had a family member holding the spot for him, but then the guy pulled into it. Baldwin and the man started arguing, and then Baldwin decided to sucker punch him right in the face. The next incident was when he was removed off a flight in 2011 because he refused to stop playing a game called Words with Friends on his phone, with Baldwin tweeting out after, quote, "Flight attendant on American reamed me out for playing Words with Friends while we sat at the gate not moving. Hashtag no wonder American Air is bankrupt." Then in another incident, he reamed out the police because they were going to ticket him for riding his bike the wrong way down the street. But he was so difficult they ended up arresting him, causing him to rant that, quote, "New York officials are simply, quote, desperate for revenue and anxious to criminalize behavior once thought benign." And at number 2, Ireland Baldwin. So this is one you should see coming. But Alec has such a bad temper that his own daughter felt his wrath on a long voicemail message he angrily left when she didn't pick up the phone. Back in 2007, the voice message was leaked online, and people got to hear the awful things Alec said to his 11-year-old daughter at the time, with him saying in the call that she was, quote, "a rude, thoughtless little pig." That needed to be, quote, "straightened out," and she humiliated him for the last time, with things being extra heated because him and his wife Kim Basinger were in a heated custody battle at the time. At the time, he apologized in a statement saying, quote, "I'm sorry as everyone who knows me is aware for losing my temper with my child. I have been driven to the edge by parental alienation for many years now. You have to go through this to understand, although I hope you never do. I'm sorry for what happened." Thankfully, Ireland can now joke about it, with her saying that it was turned into a bigger deal than it actually was, but I'm sure that definitely hurt a little bit to receive that. In at number 1, Shia LaBeouf. Shia LaBeouf got into such a bad feud with Alec Baldwin that he allegedly quit a play right before it was scheduled to premiere. The play was called Orphans, and at the time Shia said he quit due to, quote, "creative differences," but later it was revealed that his co-star Alec Baldwin might have been the real reason. He took to Twitter and showed an email that was seemingly sent to Alec, where Shia said that men should behave a certain way, adding, quote, "Alec, I'm sorry for my part of a disagreeable situation." Then there was a screenshot of another email from the play's director where he says he should have listened to Shia earlier. But then Shia posted an email exchange between him and Baldwin where Baldwin said, quote, "I don't have an unkind word to say about you," which is definitely something you say to someone that you don't like very much in my experience.
Number 10, their secret son. While many know of the existence of Jaden and Willow Smith, did you know that Will had a third son? Trey Smith was the product of Will's previous marriage to Cherie Zampino and tends to fly under the radar in the eye of the media. In 2018, Jada brought Zampino on her show and spilled the tea on the real story behind Trey, their relationship to each other, and Will's role as his biological father. For many Smith fans, this was the first time we had even heard about Trey. Will claims that he had to distance himself from Trey and his mother following the divorce. Will recounts struggling to maintain a healthy enough relationship with Zampino for him to play the role of Trey's father figure. Trey was raised by his mom alone, growing up feeling betrayed and abandoned by Will. Eventually, Will made amends and became a proper part of Trey's life. But for a long time, Trey was kept hidden from the public, surely leaving a stain on the family unit that can never be washed away. Number 9, Jada's biases. When the Oscars So White controversy erupted in 2016, Will and Jada were among the most vocal critics of the Academy. For the second year in a row, all 20 of the actors nominated in the lead and supporting role categories were white, something that had not happened since 1998. Jada released a much publicized and highly mocked video explaining why she was boycotting the event, hoping to shine a spotlight on institutional racism. However, during an episode of Red Table Talk, the actress confessed her own tendency to judge others, revealing she specifically had a problem with blonde white women. According to Jada herself, blonde hair on a woman just sets her right off, and she's had to hold herself back quite a few times. She revealed that she had actually turned down several interviews over the years simply due to the interviewer being a white blonde lady. She claims that her bias is due to her history of being bullied by women with those physical traits growing up. I don't know, I got bullied all the time, but you don't see me running from every guy wearing camo around me. Number 8, Will's orientation. In 2012, Star magazine published an expose on Will that somehow stuck around for years. The outlet alleged that Will and his wife were headed for divorce because of his growing bromance with fellow actor Dwayne Martin, which was speculated upon due to the multiple outings the pair shared in a short span of time. The rumor was only intensified when Jada expressed her dislike for the friendship. She said that she felt like Will flaunts it in her face. He takes Dwayne out all day on exotic vacations while she just sits home alone in her university-sized mansion. Who cares? Well, it's never actually been confirmed if the bromance was more than what it seemed. The fact that multiple sources have accused Will of basically the same things makes us think there might be some merit to the rumors. Number 7, Will Smith almost ended his father's life. The Smiths are famous for getting into way too much detail when discussing their family history. Will Smith released a memoir called Will, released in 2021, that was chock full of juicy info that most certainly should have remained secret. One of the most shocking revelations in the book would have resulted in Will spending his life in prison had he followed through with his plan. The actor explained that his father, Will Smith Sr., got very physical towards himself and his mother all the time. As a child, he vowed to seek revenge for his mother when he was older and capable of doing more. Eventually, his father was diagnosed with cancer, and Will was forced to care for him while he was bedridden. Will saw this as the perfect opportunity to take his papa down. He wrote, "One night, as I delicately wheeled him from his bedroom towards the bathroom, a darkness arose within me." He then went on to describe the moment that he contemplated pushing him down the stairs. He noted that no one would have suspected him, and the moment was just perfect. He wrote, "I'm one of the best actors in the world. My 911 call would have been Academy Award level." Will ultimately decided not to end his father's life and instead took care of him until his passing in 2016. Number 6, bad parents. Jaden and Willow Smith are famous for their outlandish antics and wild lifestyle. Jaden was on track to becoming an actor after starring in the 2008 remake of the classic Karate Kid series alongside martial arts and opera legend Jackie Chan, but later shifted his focus to a more entrepreneurial side of things, developing his own fashion brand, which has garnered him massive success. His sister Willow opted to stick with the more creative roots, however, and has made quite the name for herself in the hip-hop genre. Unfortunately, their behavior comes from a place of neglect. During an episode of Red Table Talk, Jaden confronted his parents, calling out their terrible parenting skills. With both being so busy in their careers, they were almost never home to care for the youngsters. Jaden and Willow recount spending a majority of their childhood with various nannies and teachers, only seeing their parents in between projects or if they were working with their parent on said project, like when Jaden and Will were in the pursuit of happiness. Willow has backed up her brother's story, claiming that the parenting skills forced them to become mentally mature at a very young age, which probably plays some part in Jaden's success at just 24. Despite appearing to be a happy family unit in the media, the reality is Jaden and Willow have been raising themselves for a very long time. Number 5. He gets busy to relax. While the Smiths have famously entangled with other celebs throughout their marriage, Will once again shared a bit too much information in his new book, Will, and at one point made a not so shocking confession. When he was younger, Will was dating a woman named Melanie, who he discovered was cheating on him while he was away from work. Smith was deeply attached to his former girlfriend and to women in general. In his book, Will writes that he's always needed a woman to achieve for. Prior to Melanie, Will had only been with one other woman physically, but following the breakup, Will claims to have gone hyena mode over the next few months, whatever that means, making love to any woman who consented. At first using this as a way to relax and feel better about the relationship ending, this eventually grew into a full-fledged addiction, to the point where Will claims to have suffered a psychosomatic reaction from the escapades, causing him to occasionally vomit the moment he reaches completion. I did not need that image in my head, but since I have to suffer, hey, you must now join me. Number 4. They can't wait to get divorced. Breakup rumors have plagued this couple since they first tied the knot in 1997, but they rarely ever came forward to comment on the gossip. However, when the Margot Robbie rumors began to circulate back in the day, Will decided to finally speak up and clear the record. Himself and Jada were not getting divorced, and he was not dating Margot Robbie. Jada backed up that statement on Entertainment Tonight when the question of why people seem to want them to fall apart came up. While they presented a united front, conversations later on the matter suggested that the two had at least spoken about the idea of divorce at one point or another. During Will's appearance on Red Table Talk, the topic came up once again. Will said he would never get divorced as it was something he had already done and he'd like to avoid repeating it if possible. Jada laughed and said, yeah, not an option. But when she had Toni Braxton on as a guest, she claimed that she just simply wasn't mature enough to divorce him, which makes it sound like she was totally down to leave and she just couldn't do it right now. Jada is just counting down the days till she finally turns 18 mentally and kicks his butt to the curb. Number 3. Jada was briefly a Scientologist. While Scientology is usually referred to when breaking down Hollywood wacko Tom Cruise, Jada Pinkett Smith was briefly involved in the community and still partakes in some of its methods to this day. Jada and the rest of her family have often been linked to the controversial religion, though no members apart from Jada have ever actually admitted to being involved in any way, shape, or form. While Jada denies that she's a full-fledged member, the facts are she's been spotted attending several church events over the years. Former member Lee Ramini backed up the claims of Jada's involvement, telling the Daily Beast that she herself interacted with Jada at an event taking place at the Scientology Celebrity Center, which is essentially just a giant room with famous nutcases in it, and Tom Cruise probably has an apartment hidden somewhere in there. If you want proof that the Smiths are involved in the religion, the family literally founded a school that contained an exclusively Scientology-based curriculum. That'd be like me opening a library containing just the Twilight series and being like, oh man, I freaking hate Twilight. Why would you just assume that I don't? Number 2, they actually suck. While rumors plagued Will and Jada for the moment they were married, their careers didn't seem to suffer at all. In fact, some would agree that Will was slowly taking over the Hollywood world, starring in much-loved flicks like the Men in Black franchise, I Am Legend, and the Bad Boys series. It wasn't until he slapped Chris Rock at the 2021 Oscar ceremony live in front of the world that the truth began to be revealed. Will exposed himself as an impulsive and aggressive man hidden behind a big smile. When Chris insulted Jada Pinkett Smith by joking about his excitement for a G.I. Jane movie, Will initially laughed. but his face quickly turned to anger when he noticed his wife didn't find that funny at all. Will won Best Oscar that night, but it would be the last good thing that would ever happen to him. The Academy banned Will from ever attending another event, he's been blacklisted in Hollywood, and Jada's talk show on YouTube was cancelled. It turns out that the most sane people in the Smith family are Will's kids, and I'm not sure how I feel about that, to be honest. And at number 1, cheating scandals. For a long time now, Will and Jada have attempted to hide their various marriage misdeeds from the media, but they've never truly been successful in that venture. While both have been rumored to have been cheating on each other multiple times, it was Jada who was confirmed to be the real cheater. While rumors had been circulating that Will was romantically involved with Focus co-star Margot Robbie, those rumors were quickly laid to rest thanks to the crew of the project confirming that any photos taken were on set and in character. Jada, however, was most certainly cheating on Will a few years prior with her Hawthorne co-star Mark Anthony. The proof? Well, Will walked in on them getting jiggy with it and was reduced to tears, according to Jada. While they were able to hide it at the time, the conversation that took place between herself and Will on her now cancelled talk show was quite revealing.
At number 10, Kim Kardashian. After the 2022 Met Gala, Kim Kardashian had the chance to wear a dress originally worn by Marilyn Monroe when she sang "Happy Birthday, Mr. President" to the then president, John F. Kennedy Jr. Now, in a move that truly broke the internet, the reality TV star managed to get her hands on a $5 million dress famously worn by Monroe in 1962. But how on earth did Kim get her hands on such an iconic piece of history? Well, you can thank Kris Jenner for that one. However, after the Met Gala, the internet would be truly outraged at the fact that Ripley's allowed Kim to even wear the dress, as it would begin to circulate online that the reality TV star actually ruined the dress for the short period of time that she had the chance to wear it before changing into a replica dress, with Kim denying that she ruined the dress and that there was handlers present to put the dress on her. Even Ripley's would come out to try to say that the dress had already previously had damage to it. However, if you've seen the before and after photos of the damage done to the dress, you can obviously see that the dress was damaged during the Met Gala, and Kim and Ripley's are just lying to us to cover it up. And considering that Kim had a replica dress, she didn't even need to wear this dress in the first place. And number 9, Bella Thorne. Bella Thorne was definitely for real when she got caught in a lie wearing animal pelt after claiming it was faux fur. When Bella Thorne tried to shake off her social media critics back in 2018 when she posted an outfit of the day photo to Instagram rocking a fur coat, she made sure the trolls on the internet wouldn't come for her after claiming the fur wasn't real animal fur. Some users were quick to point out that the jacket looked very much like Alice and Olivia Tara's striped fur jacket, and the product listed on the site claimed that the jacket was made out of real fur. On the website, the product's overview would say crafted with super soft rabbit and blue fox fur. Bella's reps would then clarify the whole situation with TMZ, and they would later report that Bella was actually given the coat during a photo shoot and she was told it was faux fur. Her representatives also noted that now that she was aware of the actual material, she will no longer be wearing it. However, I mean, considering all clothes come with tags that let you know what the true materials are, Bella definitely knew the jacket was made with real fur, and this definitely was a way her representatives try to cover up the truth to save her image. Hey my little peaches, are you enjoying this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. At number 8, Justin Bieber. Remember back in 2014 when Justin Bieber took to Instagram to say he bought himself a jet for Christmas? Well, it turns out that the pop star actually didn't buy himself his own set of wings, and that he was actually just renting the jet. According to TMZ, inside sources with direct knowledge about the private jet said that Justin was merely just chartering it for a Christmas flight from Canada to New York City. In other words, technically, it was just a really expensive Uber. While most of us were shocked that Justin took to his Instagram in the first place to brag about what Santa brought him for Christmas, the Gulfstream 650. Now, no doubt it was definitely a comfy ride, but it wasn't a ride in his own jet. Now, considering the jet was estimated to be around $200 million, it would have cost him just over a quarter of his entire fortune. Now, there's no denying that the jet was absolutely gorgeous, but the fact that Justin was pretending that he bought a jet definitely landed him on the naughty list that year. And number 7, Taylor Swift. Even though it's been 3 years since Taylor Swift and her former manager, Scooter Braun, started a highly publicized feud back in 2021, Scooter would open up about the truth and it would be revealed that Taylor lied about everything. Now the feud all started when Scooter dropped $300 million to purchase Big Machine label group, including all of its music catalogs, through his holding company. Scooter was able to secure masters from some musicians like Florida Georgia Line and Thomas Rhett. However, they wouldn't be the only artists affected by the purchase, as Scooter was even able to acquire everything Taylor Swift produced on her first albums. Taylor was definitely not fond about the deal, and she would come out to say that she was sad and grossed out by the sale, and she would also accuse Scooter of being a manipulative bully, and that she was never given the opportunity to buy back her own music before it ended up in Scooter's hands. When Scooter came out to talk about the messy situation, he would claim that Taylor had been lying to all of her fans all along, as he even offered to sell her back the music. Scooter would even say that he tried to sit down with Taylor 7 times to sell her back the catalog, and even went under an NDA, and her team just refused. So Taylor pretty much lied about not being able to buy her music back, because Scooter did try to squash the beef between the two. At number 6, Rebel Wilson. When Rebel Wilson tried to lie about her age by giving fans the impression she was still in her 20s, she would also give all her fans a false impression to a journalist when she said that her real birth name was Rebel Wilson. The Australian magazine decided to run a story. Rebel would come out to say that in a series of articles in 2015 that damaged her career by painting her as a serial liar, having told untruths about her real name, age, and childhood. Rebel would also claim that she never lied to any journalist, and that she simply just deflected questions about her age because a lady never tells. Back in 2014, Rebel would claim that she was around 29 years old when she had the interview with the Australian Woman Weekly. However, Wilson at the time was actually in her mid-30s. Rebel would also confirm that Rebel was her real name and how her mother came up with it. However, she was actually born with the real name of Melanie Elizabeth Bowens, and legally changed her name to Rebel Elizabeth Wilson. With Rebel denying that she ever had the interview to begin with, a hairdresser would then later testify saying he witnessed her speaking to a woman before her shoot, and just like that, Rebel would be exposed for her lies, and her real background would be exposed, and we were all truly shook. At number 5, Paris Hilton. It's really hard to say that Paris Hilton was joking in 2017 when she took to Twitter to say that she and Britney Spears invented the selfie. When Paris headed over to share 2 selfies of her and Britney Spears, she would caption the post by saying, "11 years ago, me and Britney invented the selfie." Her Twitter mentions would then be flooded by users who would prove her claims were false. With many users still giving her the benefit of a doubt, it would later be revealed that a professor at the University of Southern California that Paris was definitely lying. The professor definitely had a good chuckle when he said that Robert Cornelius was actually the first person who created the first selfie when he took a picture of himself back in 1839. Not to mention there was a lot of celebrities taking selfies before Britney and Paris started snapping photos of themselves on their wild night out. And while Paris Hilton did not invent the first selfie, after she made the post, her and her publicist wouldn't respond, and it was definitely pretty funny that she tried to bring Britney Spears into her lie. And number 4, Kylie Jenner. Kylie Jenner can go pretty far just to get some attention, and the star isn't one to shy away from a good lie. At one point in her life, she even tried to convince us that she never had lip fillers done. However, a few years ago, she tweeted that she was eating cereal with milk for the first time, and no one expected a fan to call her out on her lie. Now, many of us couldn't believe that Kylie actually never tried cereal with milk before. But when Joseph Shepard did some deep digging, he would tweet back to Kylie saying, "Girl, you lying. You had cereal with milk on April 25th, 2013 and posted it on Instagram." Joseph definitely came with receipts, and it was pretty funny to read. However, after the post was posted, people began having a discussion whether the cereal was coated in milk or yogurt, but it definitely wasn't yogurt because the cereal appeared to have this little milk drizzle on it, and if it was yogurt, the strawberries would have been covered in it. Also, there's no denying that as a child, she also ate cereal with milk in it, because what parent doesn't feed their child cereal with milk growing up? And number 3, Tyga. Tyga definitely had a lot of us fooled for a long time when Tyga released his first album, No Introduction. After it was released, he still needed to introduce himself and explain how he grew up. In 2013, an old video would be leaked of a show called Bustas. and it showed a teenage Tyga talking about living in Los Angeles. Tyga would then say he grew up not too tough and his parents had a Range Rover, but he was still very street. Now the snippet raised a lot of questions as Tyga has always said he was from Compton, the West Coast city made famous by people like Dr. Dre. After the video surfaced, Tyga would come out to set the record straight during an appearance on Big Boy's Neighborhood, where he would say, "The intro beginning was scripted. I grew up in the Valley. I lived in Compton my whole life. I'm young, I'm ambitious. I don't care. I'm getting a check for this. I'm having fun, and I'm about to be on TV." Now the controversy pretty much settled down after he explained himself, but it still makes us question if he's really telling us the truth on where he actually grew up before making it. At number 2, Zac Efron and Vanessa Hudgens. Disney may have been the most preferred channel to watch when we were younger, especially for teen viewers, but it's not known for leaving the same impression on its teen cast. Now, the studio is definitely widely admired for its amazing PR strategies and marketing campaigns to promote a movie or a series. But several teen stars emerging from the House of Mouse have revealed how far these strategies actually took a toll on them. Now, I think we can all agree we couldn't help but raise our eyebrows when we started to connect Disney's PR strategies with Vanessa Hudgens and Zac Efron's relationship. It really seemed at the time like it was a Disney dream come true when the High School Musical stars started dating. But after the final movie was released, the two would break up, and it led to many of us to think that they were simply only together to promote the films. Since the two got together, they were always on the news for their popular off-screen romance. So it surprised us all when they would end things after the franchise released its last film. Disney and the pair tricked us into thinking that they were an actual couple, bringing in more views to the film, and it isn't the first time Hollywood has made us love an on-screen couple and has made the co-stars fake a relationship just to bring in more views to the movie. Hollywood uses this move to bring in more press, and it definitely worked in this case because we all thought this relationship was real. And at the number 1 spot today, we have Beyonce. During an interview with Marie Claire UK, Beyonce would suggest that she wrote the lyrics to the song Irreplaceable. Beyonce would go on to say, "I'm not sure people think I wrote this about Jay-Z or something, but obviously the person is not the person at all." Now, we all wondered at the time when the song was released if it was written about her husband. However, the song couldn't possibly have been written about him because Beyonce never wrote the lyrics to the song at all, and it would actually be revealed that Neo wrote it. In an interview with a radio station, Neo would discuss the songs that he had written for other artists, and he said one of the songs he gave away that he didn't want to was Beyonce's Irreplaceable. "I honestly wrote that song myself." Neo would end up giving the song to Beyonce because he felt like if he sang it as a male, it wouldn't have come out right. However, I think we're all disappointed that Beyonce tried to take the credit for the whole song herself when Neo wrote it, and she definitely should have given him the credit because he definitely deserved it. Starting off the list today, we have at number 10, Jennifer Lopez. Age can definitely be a touchy subject for some people, especially when that person happens to work in the entertainment industry. Now, there's no denying that Jennifer Lopez looks ageless. And many of us can't actually believe that the star is actually 53 years old, as the star looks years younger. However, it seems like Jennifer got a little touchy about the subject when she tried to convince us back in the day that she was actually born in 1970. For the star trying to shave just a year off her life, her lies would eventually catch up to her after a police report would expose Jennifer's real birthday. Back in the day, Jennifer was dating her then boyfriend, Puff Daddy, who is known to be now as P. Diddy. She would be questioned by police in a nightclub, and the issue about the altercation that involved her boyfriend in the club located in New York City would expose her age. When the press was finally able to get their hands on that police report, Jennifer's lies would be exposed because up until that point, she claimed to be born in 1970, not 1969. Even today, some outlets still claim that Jennifer was born in 1970, so the lie still lives on. At number 9, Chrissy Teigen. After it was revealed that Chrissy Teigen was bullying Courtney Stodden online when she was just a child, Chrissy would try to explain that she reached out about the issue to Courtney and issued her an apology privately. However, Courtney would then reveal that Chrissy never tried to reach out to them privately to apologize for the abusive tweets and direct messages that they received back in 2011. Courtney then went on to say that she did accept her public apology and forgave her. The truth would still remain the same, that they never heard from Chrissy in private. She would then also reveal that Chrissy had blocked them instead of issuing an apology to them in private. And the fact that Chrissy would go on
on to block Courtney instead of apologizing leads us all to believe that her initial apology wasn't really sincere and it felt more like a public attempt to save her image and her partnership with Target. Chrissy was a broken record as she wasn't as nice as she seemed, with Chrissy claiming that she was mortified and sad with who she used to be, who was ashamed of completely being embarrassed by her behavior. And number 8, Bow Wow. Back in 2017, Bow Wow would post a photo of him on Instagram where he tried to convince us all that he was boarding a private jet from Georgia to New York to promote his upcoming TV show Growing Up Hip Hop. However, as soon as the photo began to circulate online, a fan on the same commercial flight Bow Wow was really traveling on would surface. A fellow passenger would say, "So this guy, Little Bow Wow, is on my flight to New York," but on Instagram he posted a picture of a private jet caption, "Traveling to New York today, shaking my head," and if the situation couldn't get any worse, fans would then spot the original photo Bow Wow posted, which appeared to be taken from a website from a Florida VIP transportation company. After Bow Wow's lies were exposed, he would then react. Bow Wow would say, "I'm flying and I like the picture, I'ma throw it up. And I'm flying to New York, but I like this picture better. I didn't say that I'm on this jet, I'm about to travel." However, by posting the jet, he definitely was trying to pull a Justin Bieber on all of us, and he knew exactly what he was doing. He just didn't think he would get caught for it. At number 7, Shania Twain. Shania Twain lied about her heritage, and it was really offensive towards the Native American community. When Shania Twain tried to claim that she had Native American blood running through her veins, a Canadian newspaper that began to circulate around her hometown before going viral would claim otherwise. Twain would then react by retreating her statement and would say when she was just 2 years old, her biological dad left and her mom would marry a man from a Native American tribe who happened to be Jerry Twain. When Shania was just 4 years old, however, Clarence Edwards was actually Shania's biological father. When Shania's mom married Jerry, Shania would state that he was the only father she had ever known and that her stepfather legally adopted her at a young age, so she was led to believe from the longest time that he was actually her birth father. But when she made the comment, she knew about her real birth father. And she made the comment without being certain about her heritage, which would force the singer to backtrack on her comments and would be like, "Man, I feel like a liar." However, that wouldn't stop Shania from legally registering herself as having 50% Native American blood, as she was able to do so thanks to her father adopting her. At number 6, Nicki Minaj. Nicki Minaj is another celebrity who clearly thinks age is just a touchy subject, as back in 2011, Nicki would be caught lying about her age. She tried to claim for years that she was actually 2 years younger than what she actually was. With the incident being pretty pointless, it would cause a bunch of us to question why she was only trying to shave off 2 years. Nicki's age lie would be exposed after she was involved in a serious conflict. The rapper is now known to be born in 1982. She's currently 40 years old. For the longest time, however, though, she was able to maintain this huge lie that she was actually born in 1984. However, when the rapper found herself in a serious altercation, a police report would later reveal that she had been lying about her age. And she was actually 2 years older than what she led us all to believe. However, I don't think any of us were really shocked that the star was lying, as she's been lying to us for years about not having any plastic surgery done. And the police report that exposed her just proved that she wasn't the real authentic person that she was telling us that she was, and that you can't trust a pop star with an over-the-top ego who sings songs about being an alpha female on top of the world. And number 5, Britney Spears. Back in 2021, Britney Spears would admit to all of us that her bizarre social media posts that led us all to believe that she was okay were all just a lie. When the pop star spoke to Judge Brenda Penny, she would reveal that the severity of her mental health and well-being was deteriorating due to her being under a court order conservatorship. Britney would go on to say that, "I've lied and I told the world I'm okay and I'm happy. It's a lie. I've been in denial, I've been in shock, I am traumatized. Fake it till you make it, but now I'm telling you the truth, okay? I'm not happy, I can't sleep, I'm depressed, I cry every day." For years, none of us truly even understood what was happening with Britney Spears, and she used her social media to paint a picture to her fans that she was happy and she was doing fine, when she really wasn't. With videos of her dancing around her Calabasas home, none of us truly knew what Britney was going through. Britney wasn't
able to be truly happy until she came out with her truth. However, the 13 years she had to suffer at the hands of her father were truly saddening, and we're all just happy to see her finally free and doing what she wishes. And number 4, Martha Stewart. Now, Martha Stewart is known for her crafty planning tips, delicious recipes. However, in 2001, her involvement in an inside trading scandal would lead to Martha's arrest, and she would be sentenced to prison for 5 months. So for those of you who don't know what inside trading is, it's pretty much a practice in which an individual buys or sells stocks they have in a company using information that's not available to the public. Insider trading is illegal, and if you're found guilty of the offense, it can result in some pretty heavy fines and prison sentences. Near the end of 2001, things really didn't start to look good for Imclone after the company failed to get FDA approval on the medication they were developing. During an investigation, one of the founders of the company would be arrested, and investigators would also discover that Martha had sold 4,000 shares of the stock she owned with the company just one day before the company announced the FDA's decision, and she somehow managed to avoid losing around $45,000 in the process. Martha has repeatedly denied any wrongdoing and claiming that she had an agreement with her broker to sell the shares if they went below a certain price. However, that would just be a lie, and Martha would then be charged for security fraud, obstruction of justice, and conspiracy. And number 3, Rick Ross. When photos of Rick Ross started to circulate of him working as a correctional officer in the mid-90s, his past would become a huge topic as the star would try to deny the topic for years until he made an appearance on the Full Send podcast. Rick would speak about his brief stint as a correctional officer and why he doesn't beef with other rappers, with Rick admitting he worked in a Florida jail between 1995 and 1997. He said that he is now open about that experience and what it was like and why he chose to leave the job behind. Around the time when he was 20, he really didn't get to make it to prison because you have to go through a lot of training, and he actually didn't even last so long, as he was only there for 4 months before they told him he was too tardy for the job. And that's why he went to pursue another job. For the longest time, the rapper tried to deny being a correctional officer because he felt like it took away from his street credit. After admitting to his job, he would then say that even rappers need to have a job every now and then. Coming in at number 2, Sean Kingston. Sean Kingston definitely tried to pull one on us, and he definitely tried to pull one out of Justin Bieber's books when he tried to impress his date. Back in 2012, Sean would tell the paparazzi that he was the proud new owner of Justin Bieber's sports car as he bought the car from Bieber. I think Sean knew that Justin was consistently lying about buying cars and jets and yachts, that he wouldn't call him out on his lies. However, that definitely would not be this case, as it would later be revealed that Justin didn't sell him the car and that he only lent it to him for a couple of days. And while we can only guess that Bieber won't be trusting anybody with his things anymore, I think it's worth mentioning that Justin probably shouldn't be trusted with Justin things anymore, as he consistently lies about them to us. However, it was still pretty funny to see Sean sweat it out when Bieber exposed his lies and said that he was only borrowing the car and that the car was already back safe in his garage. And coming in at number 1 today, we have Khloe Kardashian. So back in 2015, Khloe would be caught in a Thanksgiving pie lie. Khloe is definitely like all of us when it comes to dealing with the holidays and the stress that surrounds it. However, when the star was caught lying about taking credit for pies that she did not bake, something tells us that at some point or another we have all been found guilty of committing the same crime. When Khloe took to her Instagram to share snaps of pumpkin, pecan, and cherry pies, she would then try to claim that she baked all of them from scratch. However, it looks like she actually purchased them from Sweet Lady Jane, a bakery that's located in West Hollywood, as fans pointed out that the desserts looked highly familiar as other celebrities had during the season, that they shared similar posts and credited the bakery. Now, it seems like this wouldn't be Khloe's only Thanksgiving offense of the lies, as the year prior she actually shared a photo of the same trio of pies in the oven and captioned it, "All of my homemade greatness." So if Khloe ever serves you a pie in the future, it probably wasn't homemade.
Number 10, Justin Justin Timberlake. One of the most discussed sections of The Woman in Me, a memoir by Britney Spears, is of course a revelation on what really happened while she was dating her Mickey Mouse Club co-star Justin Timberlake. After meeting JT in the clubhouse, the two sparked a romantic connection, and their connection was strong, but unfortunately Britney had to make a terrible decision in the year 2000 when she found out she was pregnant. And at first she was very excited about the whole thing because she wanted to be a parent. In her book she revealed that she had planned on starting a family with Justin, but I guess it was just going to be a little bit earlier than she expected. Well, it turns out Justin not so excited and told her that they were both too young to start a family, continuing to remind her that their careers would also need to be put on pause. This revelation may be part of the reason that Justin reportedly was so nervous leading up to the book's release, and since the book's release he's had to turn off his Instagram notifications because, hey, he's terrible and people want to let him know. Britney revealed that if the decision had solely been left to her, she would have gone through with the pregnancy, but she decided to go the opposite route instead. She claims that she only did this because Justin clearly didn't want to be the dad, and in the book she said that looking back, it was one of the most agonizing things she had ever experienced in her life. Number 9, Jamie Foxx. So this is one of the more recent secrets that's been revealed, so to speak. So far this is just an allegation, but a woman is suing Jamie Foxx for alleged physical mistreatment at a rooftop restaurant. The allegations are being backed up by two eyewitnesses, a friend of the victim and a security guard who saw the whole thing go down and let it happen. According to the unnamed woman, she spotted Jamie at a restaurant around 11 p.m. and after a couple of hours decided to ask him for a picture. Jamie was apparently under the influence, and according to the accuser, he became very handsy as the night progressed. He said yes to the picture and then apparently said that the woman had a model's body and smelled good. Then there are some darker and honestly pretty disturbing details that I can't go into in this channel, but if they're true, something tells me Jamie's career may be done. Truly just dark stuff. The court case is being brought forward as the Survivors Act is about to be implemented in the US. This act allows victims of physical offenses to bring civil cases to court after the statute of limitations has expired. The statute means that after a certain amount of time has passed, the victim can no longer file criminal charges. However, the new act means that civil cases are good to go. So we will see what happens to Jamie in the coming weeks. Number 8. Lizzo. Lizzo may have been a public advocate for body positivity, but as part of the lawsuit being brought up against her, it looks like all that positivity may have just been an act that she was putting on to make herself more universally loved. Now, I'm not a small man. In fact, I have what many call a dad bod, and I'm very cool with it. So I'm not dismissing the notion that we should love and respect ourselves, but come on, she made it a massive part of her personality on camera when it sounds like the only body she actually cared about was her own. According to her dancers, Lizzo regularly shames her team and makes them feel that they are too large or gaining weight, with several dancers confirming these claims. One of the dancers, Crystal Davies, who is part of this lawsuit, was fired for secretly recording a meeting between herself and Lizzo. The meeting was about the dancer's performance on stage recently and her apparently disliking the weight that she had been gaining, claiming that she wasn't committing to the role. She was also bringing her dancers to weird places and making them do weird things. Lizzo was at a club in Amsterdam's red light district when she coerced, aka forced, a dancer to touch a woman's bare chest despite saying no several times. She also made them eat bananas from some no-no zones. Again, nobody's idea of fun. Currently, there is still a court case up in the air and no one knows what will happen, but so far Lizzo is maintaining that she did nothing and will prove her innocence. Number 7, Russell Brand. Even before the controversy surrounding Russell Brand came up this year, this dude was unwelcome everywhere. Royal events, awards shows, kids' birthday parties, who knows? For anyone who doesn't know, I'm really sorry to be the one to tell you, but Russell Brand is a terrible person. The man, known best as a comedian, a bringer of joy, was secretly manipulative, aggressive, and at times violent with his ex-partners. Following in the news that a documentary about his life and career was set to release on BBC's Channel 4, several complaints got filed against him, alleging mistreatment during their time together. The allegations were actually reinforced by Russell's ex, Katy Perry, who they dated for quite some time, and she came to learn that Russell was short-tempered, opinionated, and stubborn. Russell's career was canceled, and he's currently awaiting a trial. Number 6, Jonathan Majors. Jonathan Majors is currently the man behind Kang the Conqueror in the MCU. He was written as an important person in that franchise, being a villain in a couple of movies and recently a villain in the Loki TV show. Unfortunately for Jonathan Majors, an ex has come forward and alleged that Jonathan was physically violent towards her while they were together. Since March of this year, Majors and his team had been adamant that the situation was blown out of proportions and that there really is nothing nothing to be upset about, which is always a fun thing to say to people during these situations. In fact, in June, Majors filed his own cross-complaint accusing his accuser. The prosecutors refuted these claims and told him they had no plans on prosecuting Grace Japari, who was the woman who accused him. Majors has been dropped from his agency, and so far his role on TV and film is pretty up in the air. I mean, his character Kang may even be kicked out of the MCU and replaced by Doctor Doom, so let's see what happens as the year progresses. Number 5, Jada Pinkett Smith. Cheating rumors and dating scandals followed Jada and Will throughout their entire relationship. Since day one, people were convinced that they were in an open relationship or had just been straight up cheating on each other. Turns out that those rumors were kind of true, because ahead of the release of her book Worthy, Jada sat down with People magazine and every other news outlet to share some inside info. The most revealing one was that herself and Will Smith were actually separated for 7 years. Of course, that's not all though. Jada is slowly ruining that guy's life and then some. When Jada revealed the truth about her separation from Will, she claimed that by the time they reached 2016, they just became exhausted with each other. The news of their separation was a mild shock at best, because Super Sleuth fans claim that they had proof Will and Jada were separated a long time ago. Some of the clips that were submitted as evidence of Will and Jada just prove it, because Will and Jada was on Red Table Talk and he looks drained. He just looks like a man dealing with so much mentally speaking. In her conversation with Will, she literally says that herself and Will had basically broken up, but instead of just outright admitting the information, she decided to hold on to it until the release of her book. A lot of Jada fans commented on the resurfaced clips, and we can all agree just Will is having a rough time, and I just feel for this guy at this point. I could go on and on about how terrible Jada Pinkett Smith is, but I've only got a couple of minutes and I already wrote a lot of lists about why she's bad, so go check them out. Number 4, Mark Wahlberg. Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch hit the rap scene in 1991, and despite sounding like the title of a cheesy kids cartoon, the crew had a small following and garnered quite a bit of success. Enough for leading man Mark Wahlberg to be spotted, picked up by Hollywood to star in The Corruptor, a 1999 action flick that sees Mark play the leading man, Danny Wallace, a police officer who attempts to stop substance trafficking and corruption by the Chinese triads. He had a successful acting career that's recently been declining in quality, but he's still acting and he looks great at 52, so please don't hurt me, Mark Wahlberg. Growing up in Boston, he was the youngest of 9 children and was relentlessly bullied by his fellow siblings. His parents divorced when he was very young, and he became addicted to no-no snow by the time he was 13. He dropped out of high school and was eventually arrested at the age of 18 for attempting to slay 2 Vietnamese men. Apparently, he was walking home late one night under the influence of hallucinogens when he spotted the men. Close friends at the time confirmed that Mark did have a bit of a racial bias with his upbringing, which caused him to be instantly aggressive towards anyone who, wasn't white. He attempted to swing a large log at them, which made contact and knocked one of them unconscious. He was eventually released after serving only 45 days of a 2-year prison sentence, and he vowed to change his life forever. So far, that promise seems to be kept, and I can personally confirm that he's a very polite and patient person, because he watched a movie at a theater I used to work at. He travels with like 5 people at all times. It's a little intimidating. Number 3, Margot Robbie. Margot may be a perfect Barbie on screen, but apparently behind the scenes, she may be a psycho. In a recent interview with BBC Radio 1, Margot reminisced about a little prank she pulled on an old babysitter. It involved kitchen cutters, which is the word I'm forced to use for See, they bleep it out. Apparently, Margot has just gotten a new babysitter, a much older woman that just was not as cool as Talia, her old babysitter, so she hatched a plan of sweet, sweet revenge. After a particularly trying day where Margot refused to take a bath, she decided to kick the old lady out for good and grabbed ketchup, a stabby-jabby device, and laid face down on the kitchen tiles. The old I'm kinda dead routine. As you may expect, her babysitter walked in, took one look, screamed, and just jogged out the door. She was gone. She traumatized the woman, who quit, and Margot successfully got her old babysitter back. But that's very messed up, and Margot was so young when she did that. That is so dark, a dark place for someone's mind to go that early on. Was she secretly a little crazy this whole time? Might explain why she is the best Harley Quinn we've ever seen on screen. Number 2, Tim Allen. Tim Allen is the voice of Buzz Lightyear, the star of ABC's popular sitcom Home Improvement, which premiered in 1991. And while he may have played a family man on TV, a lot of fans may not know that Tim was a smuggler of no-no snow in the early 1970s. According to Tim, he got mixed up with some pretty bad people back in the day while he was selling certain substances on the street for a couple of bucks. In 1978, Tim was arrested in the Kalamazoo Battle Creek International Airport and was caught with more than 650 grams, 1.4 pounds of no-no snow. Unfortunately for Tim, state legislators had just passed a law that tied a life sentence to any conviction of selling 650 grams or more. Like, there was a guy from the government just next to his car like, oh, 650, all right, well, if you got 650, then you're going to jail. However, that sentence was never served, and it was revealed that Tim was set up by an undercover police officer who had been following him for months. Due to this and Tim's cooperation in providing the names of fellow dealers to the authorities, it led to him receiving a lighter conviction that allowed him to be sentenced in a federal court instead of a state one, so he was able to ignore that new policy. His information led to 20 arrests and the sentencing of a major dealer. So think about this entire entry and tell me that wouldn't be a great movie. Number 1, Danny Matheson. Danny Matheson was that 70s show's popular boy, and it helped launch several careers, including Mila Kunis, Ashton Kutcher, and of course himself. Danny was also on this show, and it turns out the allegations against him date back to 2004 and were reported in 2004. Danny was still on the show when an investigation took place. 4 women reported that he had mistreated them physically, prompting local law enforcement to halt production of that 70s show and bring Danny in for questioning. The investigation brought little to no actual evidence to the table because it was just that time, so Danny was let go and the whole thing was forgotten about. But that means that Ashton and Mila watched this dude shut down their project and still said, hey, he's a great guy. When the charges come up again 15 years later, people are still sticking to his side that he was friends with, but it turns out that he was an actual menace and a horrible person, and he's gonna go to jail. Thankfully, in 2023, it's a lot easier to confirm allegations like this, and he was recently sentenced to 3 years in prison.
At number 10, we have Jia Kim and Sang-hun Lee. The two starred alongside each other in the new spin-off series XO Kitty. Spoiler alert if you haven't watched it yet, they both played the semi-potential love interests of the main character Kitty, and their performances and respective characters were well received by viewers. It became quite the story when they revealed that they are actually siblings in real life. In a podcast, Jia shared how she first received notice to audition for the show, which she then shared forward to her younger brother Sang-hun. She was already in the running to play Yuri, while Sang-hun forgot about it altogether and only had 3 days left until the audition's deadline. Luckily for him, his sister pestered him to get it done, and the rest is history. Jia Kim was actually a given stage name that she picked, and she was auditioning from LA while her brother still lived in Korea. The odds of them both being cast was slim to none, but they made it happen. At number 9, we have Nick Jonas and Priyanka Chopra. The couple surprised us all when they welcomed their first baby into the world last year. This came as a shock because these news came out of nowhere. In 2021, during the Jonas Brothers family roast, Priyanka joked about how they were expecting, but little did viewers know she was actually telling the truth. The birth came via surrogate, which is how they were able to conceal any and all pregnancy news so easily from the world. They welcomed a little girl named Malti Marie and couldn't be happier to their new addition. On a joint statement shared on both stars' social media accounts, it read, "We are overjoyed to confirm that we have welcomed a baby via surrogate. We respectfully ask for your privacy during this special time as we focus on our family. Thank you very much." They received tons of praises and congratulations from fans and other celebrity friends of theirs. Baby Malti had a bit of a rough start upon her first few hours as a newborn, as she had to remain in the ICU or intensive care unit for 100 days. Fortunately, that is all she needed, as she was then taken home and has been growing healthy ever since. Priyanka would often post pictures of their daughter but made sure to cover her face entirely. That was until January this year, when she made her first public appearance at the Hollywood Walk of Fame ceremony. Nick and his brothers Joe and Kevin were anointed their own plaques along the tourist-driven road. Next on the list, we have Elon Musk and Grimes. Okay, so we all know their first kid's name is X something, or apparently it's pronounced X-A12. The internet was up in flames when their poor kid was first announced. But did you know they had another kid? Because I didn't. Their second child, a daughter, was literally born a year later, but this made little to no noise. Maybe it's because her name is more normal compared to her older brother. Her name is Exadark Sidereal. I'm gonna be honest, that's kind of a fire name because it sounds like the name of a sci-fi character. But despite this very unique name, Grimes just refers to her as Y. Why? Well, if I told you that by simply asking that answers your question, would you believe me? Because that's literally why. On Twitter, she tweeted, "She's Y now," or "Why," or just a question mark, but the government won't recognize that. Curiosity, the eternal question, and such. Meaning she wants people to question why she's called Y. Okay, I've said the word why so many times at this point the word is no longer real to me. At number 7, we have Macaulay Culkin and Brenda Song. Honestly, it came as quite the shocker when I found out these two were together. But they've been together since at least 2017, and if they're happy, we're happy. They're also very private and only share very little to their social media. So in 2021, when they welcomed their first child Dakota into the world, people were very surprised. The only statement they made regarding their firstborn was, "We are overjoyed," and that's all that really needs to be said. A year later, Macaulay's brother, actor Kieran Culkin, shared the news about baby number 2. Brenda described her and Macaulay's parenting as very hands-on. They don't have a nanny, but they do get help from Brenda's mother often. Brenda shared how she would go to work, her mother and Dakota would come on set for feeding and bonding time. So now with the new baby, they definitely got the hang of it. The actress advised that parenting doesn't have to be about assigning certain chores to each other. They learned that communicating is their top priority, as that's the only way you can acknowledge and resolve problems. At number 6, we have Florence Pugh and Toby Sebastian. Did you know Florence had a sibling? If you did, how did you even figure that out? Toby Sebastian is her older brother who found his own success in the acting industry. He's best known for his roles on the Game of Thrones and the Music of Silence. He's also a singer and songwriter. A couple of years ago, he came out with a song titled Midnight where he featured his younger sister. The song is a soft duet with a guitar accompaniment. If you're into songs that sound like they'd play at a bookstore or cute cafe, I highly recommend it. When asked about collaborating with Florence, he said, "We've always grown up collaborating as a family, which is kind of the beauty of this song and now the video that we've created." So anyone who dares say he featured her simply because of her status, do not listen to them because they clearly don't know what they're talking about. He actually credited their mom for even suggesting the idea in the first place. Within 20 minutes in the studio with no rehearsal came their little song. Next at number 5, we have Phil Collins. When I found out that actress Lily Collins is the daughter of singer Phil Collins, I had to sit down for a second. Because Collins is a very common name. I never thought they were related. There was barely any association with the two to begin with, so you can't blame me for being shocked. Now that isn't to say there wasn't any type of Nepo baby privileges that came unnoticed, but clearly Lily managed to have a career in her own name. We'll talk about her Nepo privileges another time. As it turns out, she isn't his only successful kid either. In total, he has 5 children, including Lily, and most of them are successful in their own career paths. His eldest daughter, Jolie, started her own production company. His eldest son, Simon, is a musician, taking after his father's profession. Simon said that Phil provided his earliest music education by giving him albums to listen to. His fourth, Nick, is also looking into a musical career and started his own band called Better Strangers. As for his youngest, Matthew, it's a mystery, but there's no doubt he has an endless supply of connections in the entertainment industry if he really wanted. And he's still young, so he has time. At number 4, we have Snoop Dogg and Brandy. The two cousins, yes, you heard that right, cousins, have their own successful music careers spanning decades. In case you've been living under a rock, Snoop Dogg is a rapper with a personality higher than life, if you know what I mean. Whereas Brandy is a singer, songwriter, and actress, most known for her R&B sound and for playing iconic roles such as Cinderella. Usually when we find out that celebrities are cousins, it tends to fall on the distant cousin type of way. But these two are actually first cousins. Their respective music careers were always separate as they never used each other to boost themselves within the industry. That's because they didn't need to, as they both managed to create their own solid fan bases throughout the 90s. But finally in 2009, Brandy was featured on Snoop Dogg's 10th album, Malice in Wonderland. They collabed in his song titled Special, where she provided the vocals for. Next on the list, we have Andie MacDowell and Margaret Qualley. Some fans of the Netflix series Made didn't believe it when it was revealed that the mother-daughter duo on the show were mother and daughter in real life. Most of it came from their names, clearly, as Margaret's stage name doesn't take after her mother's. But nonetheless, they were praised for their believable chemistry on the show, which now makes sense. Andie reassured fans that while there's so much tensity on the show, their real-life relationship is very different. Unlike the animosity and toxic relationship between their characters, Andie and Margaret are they're actually really close. She also shared how they spend a lot of time together anyways, so being able to work around these new types of emotions with each other wasn't very hard. And before you scream nepotism on Margaret, you'd be right, but instead of booking the role via her mother, it was the other way around. Margaret had already secured the main role and suggested to the showrunners that her mother be cast alongside her. At number 2, we have Steven Spielberg and Jessica Capshaw. While they're not blood related, they definitely are a family, a Hollywood family at that, with Steven's more than obvious big name in the industry, and Jessica known as the infamous and beloved Dr. Arizona Robbins from Grey's Anatomy. And no, they're not married. Steven is her stepfather. Kate Capshaw, Jessica's mother, is his second and most recent wife, and they're still married to this day. They met in the early 90s on set of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, which he directed because duh, and Kate starred in it. It was reported that despite having these big connections, because her stepfather is literally the biggest director of all time, she decided not to use them and paved her own way. She got her Bachelor of Arts degree for English Studies and then enrolled herself in a prestigious performing arts program in London. Now, whether Steven had some role in getting her into these schools is unclear, but seeing as many don't know they're associated together like that, I think not. And finally, at number 1, we have Michael Cera. Last year, it was revealed that he and his wife Nadine became new parents. Well, it was less revealed and more so exposed by Amy Schumer. It was an accident, but Michael confirmed it days after her interview was released. Michael was known for keeping his personal life private, as his wedding was low profile too. The only reason people realized the two were married was when they were spotted wearing similar wedding bands on their fingers. And even then, the media came to a conclusion that they probably got married sometime in 2018. All we know about their kid is that he's a boy, and that's pretty much it. Michael did open up more about how being a father changed his life in more ways than one. He said it changed his perspective on life as he became a real family man. In an interview, he said, "So when I was 20, I would have been way happier to go off to some weird city and live in a hotel for 3 months. And when you have kids, you want to be with your family and you miss them a lot." I'm gonna be real, I can't believe Elon Musk had another kid that we just never knew about.
Number 10. The Maui Fund scandal. Now, who would have guessed that the woman famous for handing out cars on her talk show is being cancelled by the entire world? Why? Well, Oprah made a career-ending mistake when herself and Dwayne Johnson broke the one rule of being a billionaire. Don't ask poor people for their money. Last week, Oprah and The Rock announced that they would be starting a relief fund for the victims of the Maui wildfires. The People's Fund of Maui was given a solid $10 million to get off of the ground. $10 million donated by Oprah and Dwayne combined. So why is it just Oprah that's getting so much hate online? Well, it's because she has a net worth of roughly $2.8 billion. Billion with a B. The world is collectively furious at Oprah for having the audacity to ask working class citizens for charity when most people can barely afford to put food on their tables. The Rock and Oprah donated $5 million each to give the fund a head start. Well, guess what? $5 million to Oprah Winfrey is like $500 to us. Like, it's still a lot, but it's chump change to her. Oprah addressed all the hate online, telling the Daily Mail that she was disappointed in the reactions from the world. Rather than focusing on the good things and the people of Maui, the world was mad that she asked them to give her a nickel. Well, Oprah has yet to confirm if she'll be donating any more to the fund, but so far it's not looking like she will. Number 9. Her controversial beliefs. Oprah has had plenty of controversial people on her show, from so-called medical experts to psychologists to celebrities. Whatever is good for TV, it's good for Oprah. One particular incident that caused a ton of backlash for Oprah was when she did an interview with Suzanne Summers. She was brought onto the show to share her beauty secrets on how she was able to look so young. According to Summer, this treatment that she does on a regular basis will help. Suzanne claims that she rubs estrogen cream into her skin on one arm and smears progesterone in her other arm. Progesterone is just a fancy way of saying steroids. She also claimed that she took 60 supplements and vitamins a day, 40 in the morning and 20 before bed. What really stirred the pot was this woman claiming to be a health expert and a so-called self-help author. But surprise, surprise, a doctor she is not. Medical experts started bashing Oprah, claiming that this type of extreme hormone therapy would actually be the cause of several diseases and illnesses. You know, like cancer. Despite Suzanne's claim that that are specially made, non-FDA approved bioidenticals are natural and safe. They're actually just synthetic conventional hormones that you can buy from a pharmacy. Oprah did everything in her power to sell this idea to her audience, believing 100% that these methods were useful, and even claimed that she used the methods herself to make herself feel incredible. So this lady would rather risk her audience getting cancer than just telling them the truth. Solid. Number 8. The free cars. Who could forget Oprah's famous words? You get a car, you get a car, everyone gets a car. The moment was historical on her series and was parodied time and time again, and it still does to this day. However, what many people don't know is that it was not as simple as, here are the keys, have fun. When someone gives out anything on television, there is always a catch. For Oprah's audience, the catch was that if they wanted to drive away in their brand new car, they would have to pay $7,000 in taxes first. While Oprah's studio would cover, the sales tax and the registration for the vehicles, the audience members were given a choice to either pay the $7,000 and take the car, or just kind of take the cash instead. The infamous moment on the show featured 11 real teachers who were, according to Oprah, in desperate need of a new car. They, along with the audience members, received keys in a box on camera that Oprah claimed to be for their new cars. Everything has a catch, even now though. For someone who is known for being super charitable and generous, the word free clearly means something else to Oprah. Number 7, she will never marry Stedman. Oprah and her partner Stedman have been together for a long time, but have never actually gotten married. While Stedman has never explained why this is, Oprah shared her side of the story. According to Oprah, getting married would mean that she would not be able to have her own life, claiming that everything she had built on her own would be at risk, like he was some kind of a career parasite or something. The strangest part about her logic behind this is the fact that she said on air that she wanted Stedman to propose to her as soon as possible, so not sure what that is. Their relationship has survived a lot despite the years of rumors and speculations. However, a source close to Oprah said that in her 4 years working with the show, she could tell that there was absolutely nothing there with Stedman. Oprah just wanted to portray herself as a woman who loves her man, when in reality Stedman probably has a house separate from Oprah's, but it's like 1/5 the size. Number 6, the NDAs. Confidentiality agreements are not uncommon in the world of Hollywood. Marvel will literally have someone take you out if even a single line leaks to the public. In Kitty Kelly's tell-all book about Oprah, the author mentions the confidentiality agreements that co-workers and guest stars were always made to sign. This included everyone from Tom Cruise to the person who made Tom Cruise's muffin. Over 500 staff members were forced to sign the document. One former employee, Elizabeth Cody, tried to write a book about her time working for Oprah, but she was apparently stopped by the courts, still being tied to the agreement that she had signed. The NDAs were not meant to be a way to keep just show secrets safe, but any and all of Oprah's secrets as well. According to Elizabeth, the document was signed by almost everyone in Oprah's life. She may have this brand of sweetness and kindness, but apparently that's not how she actually is. Elizabeth felt that she was in Oprah's pocket after she signed the paperwork. In 2010, a lawsuit was even filed against Oprah and her company because Unicus Performance Training claimed that they were fired for violating the terms of this agreement, specifically involving advertising with her name, or the website of the show. That makes no sense. Number 5, diva. On air, Oprah is portrayed as a wholesome, sweet lady, but according to her stepmother, there is an unknown side to this woman, hidden from fans for years. According to Barbara, Oprah is one of the most controlling people that you will ever meet in your life. She claims that Oprah would not allow them to stay at her house when herself and her husband would try to visit, forcing them to stay in hotels with money out of their own pockets. Barbara also said that Oprah was quick to anger when it came to her staff, with several people being fired left and right over the years for the littlest things. But that's not all. Despite being a billionaire, Barbara allows her to stay at her house when she visits, something that Oprah apparently hates. The first time she actually stayed at her stepmother's place, Oprah allegedly complained that her bed sheets were not 1,000 threads and that her bath towels were not big enough. Okay, that one I can forgive. Ever use a giant towel? I'm never going back. This woman has billions of dollars to do literally anything she wants, and apparently what she wants is to make her family feel like a burden. Number 4, the vegan cleanse. Now when I learned about this next entry, I was genuinely shocked that Oprah Winfrey's show was never considered a toxic working environment. It turns out Oprah was a powerful woman when she was running the show. Oprah was an advocate for a ton of things on her show, but the one thing that she really doubled down on were her views on animal rights. Organizations like PETA praised Oprah for her advocacy, especially when she took it a step further by making her staff join her on a 21-day vegan cleanse. Now, while the cleanse was optional, professional. If you signed up, there was no backing out. You were going to be vegan for 21 days or you were fired. Now, it was never actually confirmed if there was a penalty for leaving early, but according to one employee who participated in the cleanse, they were afraid to back out because Oprah was just so demanding. Oprah was a very serious woman behind the scenes, so we can only speculate what might have happened had she spotted a PA eating a Baconator. Number 3, spiritual beliefs. Now I'm going to start this entry by clarifying I'm not making fun of your beliefs, okay? If you're a spiritual person in any way, shape, or form, please know this entry is about Oprah and Oprah alone, okay? In an interview with Harper Bazaar, Oprah mentioned her daily morning routine that starts at 8:30 in the morning with various spiritual exercises. After reading Gathered Truth, she opens up an app called Bowl of Sake that delivers teachings of the Sufi, followed by some light meditation. The controversy here comes from Oprah inviting several self-fulfillment gurus onto her show and just gushing about one specific one named Guru Gary Sukhav's preachings. Now, Oprah herself has claimed to have secret spiritual knowledge about tapping into personal courage and giving general spiritual advice, but she stopped diving too deep into spirituality after this backlash from her fans and readers of her magazine. They just didn't like that about Oprah. Number 2, Wild Child. Several books have been published about Oprah over the years, some from her and some not. In her own book that she wrote, she revealed that growing up she was far from an easy kid to handle. When she was young, she was sent to live with her father Vernon after Oprah was caught stealing from her mother's purse. Despite being an on-screen persona known for charity and kindness, she was actually a menace throughout most of her life according to family members. As I mentioned previously on this list, Oprah's stepmother is not allowed to stay at her house and she's known to be pretty controlling. She admitted to doing some pretty troubling things at a young age, including staging an amnesia bout, breaking several things in her mother's home, and calling the police. According to Oprah's mother, she was uncontrollable, ungrateful, and after robbing her, maybe a little crazy. And at number 1, her buddy, Dr. Phil. Oprah is not just responsible for many hopes and dreams being squashed live on air, but she is also the creator of many talk show celebrities, namely health expert Dr. Oz and life coach Dr. Phil. Now, before Dr. Phil had his own show, Oprah had asked him and his courtroom consulting firm to help her with a trial. Before meeting Oprah, Phil had zero interest in being a television personality, but Oprah made him see the light, so to speak. According to Phil, she helped him understand the power of these shows and what they were truly made for. For Phil, he brings people on his show who are struggling with personal issues that just so happen to be good for television. Remember that Catch Me Outside girl? Dr. Phil made her rich and famous. But it's not just Phil that's had some controversial moments though. Her other protege, Mr. Dr. Oz, has had some pretty rough moments. His show is centered around medicine and health, bringing so-called experts on every week. My mother loved this show. Oprah was partnered with both of these people, meaning that whatever their shows made, she got a little something for her trouble. She doesn't like to advertise how much she made from these programs, but considering how many episodes they have done and how long the programs have been on for, it's probably a lot. Number 10. Justin Timberlake. One of the most discussed sections of the memoir is of course the revelation of what really happened when Britney and her Mickey Mouse Club co-star Justin Timberlake got together. After meeting JT in the clubhouse, the two sparked a romantic connection. Their connection was strong, but unfortunately Britney had to make a difficult decision in the year 2000 after she found out she was pregnant. At first, Britney was actually pretty excited about the whole thing. In her book, she revealed that she had planned on starting a family with Justin at some point, but this was just going to be a little bit earlier than she expected. It turns out Justin was not so excited and told her that they were both too young to be starting a family, continuing to remind her that their careers would also need to be put on pause. This revelation may be part of the reason that Justin was reportedly so nervous leading up to the book's release. Britney revealed that if the decision had solely been left to her, she would have gone through with the pregnancy, but she decided to go the opposite route instead. She claims to have only done it because Justin just so clearly did not want to be the father. In the book, she said that, look back, it's one of the most agonizing things she had ever experienced in her life. Number 9. Mama Spears. One thing that comes up a lot in Britney Spears' memoir is her relationship to her parents. She discusses the strain that has been placed especially on the bond between herself and her mother, Lynn Spears. She dives deep into her childhood and what really went down, and in the book she said that she started drinking no-no juice with her mother when she was just in the 8th grade. Of course that is awful and nobody should ever do that because Britney wouldn't just have a sip of Grey grape juice. Now and again, no, she would drink no-no juice like it was her job. She explained that for fun, she started having fruity no-no juice with her mom while they were in Biloxi, Mississippi. To make things feel less, illegal, they would call the drinks toddies, named after the adult beverage that's basically just no-no tea. Britney felt a special bond with her mother because of this, especially considering the contrast between her mom and her father Jamie. You see, when her mom had a few, she was bubbly and happy, and same with Britney, but when Jamie had a few, he would get angry and depressed. The behavior is terrible, and while bonding with your parents is pretty awesome, that is not the right way to do it. Number 8. The Snake. Britney Spears has performed at the Video Music Awards a few times over her career, but none quite as memorable as her infamous dance with the snake at the 2001 VMA ceremony. Britney walked on stage and began a performance of I'm a Slave for You with a massive snake draped across her shoulders. At first it seemed cool, but throughout the performance she doesn't look at it once, keeping her head down or aimed directly at the audience. In the memoir, she revealed that she is not only terrified of snakes, but that this one actually started hissing in her ears while she was on stage. Partway through the performance, the snake wraps around her and puts its face right near her ear, where she claims it hissed so loudly that for a moment she thought it was going to bite her face off. But she continued with the performance, and thankfully she still has her face, so that's very good. Number 7. The Notebook. While Britney may be known for her musical talents, she did have a short career in the film industry in the early 2000s. Her first role was in the film Crossroads, which, despite having a stellar cast, was apparently a very difficult experience for Britney. Although she was thrown off by that film, she was actually offered the co-starring lead role in The Notebook. The process went so deep that before production was set to begin, it was down to her and Rachel McAdams for the part. Now, we all know what happened when Rachel McAdams got the role. She had a terrible time on set and spent 2 years with Ryan Gosling off screen. Yay! Britney said it would have been fun to reconnect with her Mickey Mouse Club co-star Ryan Gosling for a full-length feature, but in the end she's pretty glad that they didn't pick her. She instead decided to work on her album In the Zone, putting her creative efforts to good use despite this Hollywood rejection. Now, while the film has gone down in history as a rom-com classic, nobody can even fathom what a Britney and Ryan-led movie might have looked like. But it probably would have looked something like this. Number 6. Mickey Mouse Club. Now, I actually didn't know this because, to be honest, I'm not a big Britney Spears fan. Oh, I know, it's a shocker, I just scream pop music. But the first time I saw this woman on screen was genuinely in Austin Powers Goldmember, and her head exploded. So overall, pretty solid first impression. However, her actual first role in the acting world took place in 1993 after she landed a gig on the Mickey Mouse Club, a show that would turn out to be a huge part of her life. Despite the colorful set and overall just Disney-ness of the show, Britney explained that filming was never easy. She revealed that the show was like being at a boot camp for the entertainment industry. Extensive dance rehearsals, singing lessons, acting classes, time in the recording studio, school in between, it was a lot. In fact, much like school, she explained that the show's cast was divided into cliques, with the younger castmates being in one crew and the olders being in the other. She admitted that there were some fun moments, like sharing a little smooch with Justin Timberlake, but it was still a very grueling job. She said it was extremely hard to work, and more often than not, the groups would be in rehearsal practicing choreography 30 times a day. That's like 28 times too many. At the end of the day, Britney treated the club like a job that took up a ton of her childhood. Number 5. Jamie Spears. Britney's father, Jamie, has had a complex relationship with his daughter for most of her life. In her memoir, she shared the harsh judgment she constantly received from her papa. She explained that she thought getting criticized for her body in the press was bad, but it hurt even more when it was coming from her own father. He repeatedly told her that she looked heavy and that she really needed to do something about it. He wasn't that nice, but I'm paraphrasing. She explained that even as a small child, he never gave her the love or the attention that she needed. In the book, she said that feeling like you are never good enough is a soul-crushing state for a young child. He drummed that message into her growing up, and even after she accomplished so much, he was continuing to make her feel like dirt. Jamie's wild opinions about Britney got so much worse when she was under her conservatorship. Under the conservatorship, Jamie was named as one of the several people in her life that could make important decisions for her, mind, body, and soul, and she was forced to grow her recently shaved hair back and get back into shape. For 13 years, Jamie Jamie remained in control of her life right up until the suspension in 2021. Speaking of which, number 4, conservatorship. As many may know, Britney was placed under a psychiatric hold in 2008 following what we will call a difficult evening, and was later placed under a conservatorship by her father Jamie. In her book, she explained what she had been going through at the time. She said that shaving her head and acting out were her ways of pushing back. Under the conservatorship, she was made to understand that those days were now over. She had to grow her hair back, get back into shape, and she went to bed early and had to take whatever medications that they told her to. Britney revealed that she felt like an infant under the conservatorship and lost her passion for music. She explained that she started to feel more and more like a thing on stage rather than a person. In her book, she said she had always felt music in her bones, but her family kinda stole that from her. She reminded readers of the contrast between male and female artists, telling them to think of all the male artists who've gambled their money away, who had substance control issues or mental health issues, and many of them have never had control of their bodies or money taken away. Before the book was released, people were just under the impression that the conservatorship was some kind of a financial thing, but as her book has revealed, it's a lot darker than that. Number 3, the secret man. Among the many things being revealed in Britney's memoir, one shocking revelation was that she actually met and fell in love with a man while under her conservatorship that almost led her to fleeing the US with said man. She explained that she was talking to a guy that she really liked, and he wanted her to leave the country with him. Not creepy at all. They had a secret relationship for quite some time and were eventually set to make the journey across the sea. But when she opened up about the romance to her assistant, she was hesitant, saying that she was worried what her father may do. Her assistant guaranteed nothing would happen, but was proven wrong when she was forced into a mental health facility around the same time that she was supposed to leave the country. There's never been a confirmation if the two situations are related, but it kind of feels like it is. Yeah, it feels like they were. Number 2, finding her voice. Britney has been through a ton in her life, but it turns out that we didn't even know the half of it. During her court testimonies, while she was attempting to reclaim her freedom, she said that she was forced to go to a mental health facility against her will in early 2019. It was almost 2 years ago that she regained control of her millions and every other aspect of her life. In 2022, her father requested to unseal all of the records from the duration of her conservatorship. Britney's attorney, Matthew Rosengart, called this move offensive and highly inappropriate. He explained that they did not believe a father who loves his daughter would file to unseal her medical records. Makes sense. Britney's new book is a new revelation to her side of things. A little over a year ago, her younger sister Jamie Lynn released a book called Things I Should Have Said, and in it she included a ton of details regarding Britney that seemed to paint her in a bad light, but most of Britney's fans felt that the stories were just a way to profit off her older sister during a time when she was still making headlines. And at number 1, lost all control. As previously mentioned, when Britney was placed under her conservatorship, every single aspect of her life was controlled by someone else, and mostly her dad. She was unable to make financial, physical, or personal decisions without running them through little Papa Jamie first, a man who is just notorious for being a terrible person both inside and out. While the conservatorship was dropped in 2021, the pain of her time is still lingering. She said that the conservatorship stripped her of her womanhood and made her feel like a child. In her memoir, Britney revealed that if she had been allowed to make her own decisions instead of her father, that she would be in a much better place. She wrote that 13 years of her life went by with her feeling like a shadow of herself. She constantly thinks back to the times her father would control her body or her money, and it makes her sick to her stomach. Most of her life was controlled by someone else for a very long time, but now that she's free, who knows what will happen next.
Number 10, Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg. For over 4 years, these men have clashed over just about everything, and they haven't exactly tried to keep their rivalry a secret. It started in 2016 when a SpaceX rocket exploded destroyed a $200 million Facebook satellite. Zuckerberg issued a statement saying he was deeply disappointed about the launch and called SpaceX a failure. 2 years later, Musk reignited the feud and tweeted, "Yeah, my fault for being an idiot. We did give them a free launch to make up for it, and I think they had some insurance." But when Facebook became embroiled in the Cambridge Analytica scandal, things got a whole lot worse. Musk publicly deleted all of his company's Facebook pages and said, "It's not a political statement, and I didn't do this because someone dared me to do it. I just don't like Facebook. Gives me the willies. Sorry." He also criticized Facebook's data sharing practices and shared several memes that implied the company was spying on its users. Oh, and they also got into a fight about the future of AI. So clearly they have never seen eye to eye.
At number 9, we have MGK and Eminem. No one can forget these two's epic diss tracks posted by the rapper MGK and Eminem. The feuds date all the way back to 2012 when MGK tweeted about Eminem's daughter Haley, and it wasn't exactly what a father of a teenage girl would want to read on the internet. Now after the twos followed over a song MGK was featured on for Tech Nine's 2018 No Reason, in the lyrics he threw some shade at Eminem by referring to his track Rap God. MGK would say, "To remind you all, you just rap and you're not a rap god." Eminem would later clap back with his own diss track called Not Alike, where he made fun of MGK featured on Tech Nine's song. In an interview later, Eminem would confirm that the two's conflict had way more to do with Haley, and it was more because the rapper said he was the greatest rapper alive since his favorite rapper banned him from Shade 45. When MGK released his diss track Rap Devil, Eminem came to destroy Kelly's rap career with his own diss track.
Number 8, Adam Levine and Lady Gaga. The Maroon 5 frontman has had several feuds with female artists over the years, but his feud with Lady Gaga really takes the cake. He first criticized her music in 2011 when he tweeted, "Lady Gaga took Vogue and Express Yourself and put them in a blender. The result? Born This Way." Then, only 2 years later, he slammed her creative choices when she dropped her Applause video from Art Pop, which referenced several major works of art throughout history. Adam wrote, "Ugh, recycling old art for a younger generation doesn't make you an artist, it makes you an art teacher. I unabashedly love writing and performing pop music for both myself and everyone around me. That's it. It doesn't need any extra sauce." To which Lady Gaga responded by tweeting, "Uh-oh guys, the art police is here." Adam then wrote, "By the way, I'm not an artist, I sing in a band and I make music with my friends." He also went on to criticize her grammar on Twitter.
Loving this video far? Please hit that like button, it would really help us out. At number 7, we have Vin Diesel and The Rock. You know the saying, don't turn your back on family? Well, the stars Vin Diesel and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, that statement doesn't exist. The two actors made their first on-screen appearance with each other in 2011 while filming The Fast Five. The Rock joined the set as Luke Hobbs, an agent pursuing the Fast and Furious crew for their various crimes against every law enforcement agency across the world. Everything seemed fine when he returned for the 6th and 7th entry of the series. However, in 2016, Dwayne went to his Instagram to refer to unnamed members of the cast as cowardly, timid people. Rumors then started to circulate that he was insulting Vin Diesel. A few days after filming for The Fate of the Furious and it wrapped up, Johnson posted another Instagram thanking some of his castmates by name, but didn't mention Vin Diesel. While The Rock never identified his target, Vin Diesel would later come to confirm it was in fact him in an Instagram video. Later, the duo's co-star, Michelle Rodriguez, would come to confirm that there was tension between the men on set, but it was nothing more than any kind of disagreement any close friend could have.
Number 6, Olivia Wilde and Shia LaBeouf. Shia was initially cast as a lead in Olivia's movie Don't Worry Darling, which she was directing. But soon after production started, news broke out that she had fired him and replaced him with Harry Styles. Olivia then said that she fired him due to a no a-hole policy that she has while directing. She told Variety that his process was not conducive to the ethos that she demands in her productions. He has a process that, in some ways, seems to require a combative energy. She said that she needed to protect the cast from Shia, but Shia was not happy with this side of the story and decided to publicly expose her for lying. He told Variety that he quit her film because he couldn't find time to rehearse with the cast, and in the most explosive revenge move ever, he then leaked a video of Olivia practically begging him to stay in the film, and made it clear that he was never fired in the first place. The video went viral and the result was utter chaos.
Number 5, Drake and Kanye West. When the friendship and working relationship between Kanye and Drake abruptly dissolved following a project the two were working on, it became nearly impossible for fans to keep up on their latest feuds. Back in 2018, things took a sharp turn for the duo as the two began to proceed to hurl insults back and forth in a form of diss tracks. On one of these tracks, it even revealed Drake had a son. Drake felt like he was portrayed by Kanye when he went behind his back regarding his child.
wild, because Drake confided in Kanye just before that he was having trouble with his son's mother. The fire reignited between the stars after Drake started following Kim on social media after the reality star split from Kanye. Kanye wrote to his Instagram about the matter to say, imagine having a problem with somebody and they follow your wife on Instagram. However, Drake seemingly went after Kanye on his album Certified Lover Boy in September of 2021. The two have since seemed to have put their past behind them.
Number 4, Bill Murray and Chevy Chase. The actors are both well known as comedic heavyweights who helped launch SNL into mainstream success. But in 1978, when Chase returned as a guest host, the two of them got into a physical altercation and began insulting one another. Murray first confronted Chase, telling him that everyone hated him. They then got into a screaming match, which started a physical fight between the two men. SNL star Jane Curtin witnessed the fist fight and said, "It was sad and painful and awful. It was that same kind of tension you would get in a family. It was uncomfortable. I think they both knew the one thing that they could say to one another that would really hurt the most." In a 2012 interview, Murray said that he and Chase were friends again. He told Empire, "It was really a Hollywood fight, a don't touch my face kind of fight. It was an opedial thing, a rupture, because we all felt mad that he had left us, and somehow I was the anointed avenging angel who had to speak for everyone. But Chevy and I are friends now. It's all fine."
Number 3, Cardi B and Nicki Minaj. So the tension between the rappers Cardi B and Nicki Minaj has been ongoing since 2017, with multiple disses, tweets, and general misunderstandings and miscommunications, aided by media narratives pitting the two women against each other. The feud eventually escalated into a physical altercation in 2018 at Harper Bazaar, New York Fashion Week event. Photos and videos of the incident show Cardi B being escorted out of the party barefoot with a sizable bump on her forehead, most likely caused by Nicki Minaj's security team who intervened when Cardi B threw a shoe at Nicki Minaj. The apparent incident that the two collided over was because Nicki decided to insult Cardi's parenting skills. After the clash, Cardi took to Instagram and said she let a lot slide, and because of the result of her interaction with Nicki, she had been questioning her capabilities as a mother. Nicki later came forward on her own radio show and threw shade at Cardi by saying, "Someone get this woman some help." Cardi then went to her Instagram to debunk Nicki's story.
Number 2, Jennifer Lopez and Mariah Carey. These two have been at each other's throats since the early 2000s. In fact, most people remember the iconic line that Mariah told a reporter when she said, "I don't know her." Although it sounds hilarious, Mariah has maintained her negative opinion of J-Lo all these years. For instance, she was once asked what she thought about Beyonce and J-Lo, and she responded by saying that they don't even belong in the same category. She said, "Well, it's hard. You can't really put those two people in the same category because one is in a really different generation. They just started singing later. But when you talk about Beyonce, I think she's wonderful. She's great. She's a talented person." But it seemed like she forgot to compliment J-Lo as well. A few years later, Mariah spoke to Andy Cohen and doubled down on her comments, saying, "I don't know her. What am I supposed to say?" So it looks like it'll take a miracle for these two iconic performers to ever be on good terms.
Number 1, we have Paris Hilton and Lindsay Lohan. Now, the pair have been frenemies for quite some time now. With the two of them often being pitted against each other in the tabloids, their feuds can get pretty messy when on full display for the world to see. The two were known to be best friends until 2006 when Lindsay was captured in a series of photos with Paris's ex-boyfriend. Paris was then captured in a video with her friend Brandon Davis, and you could hear the two making fun of Lindsay's career and body. Lindsay would then speak to Elle and say she would never fight with a woman over a guy because it's bad karma. By November of that year, the two seemed to have put their differences aside as they were captured in a picture on a girls' night out with Britney Spears. However, in 2018, Paris would shade Lindsay by saying the photo the paparazzi captured of the three girls in 2006 was just supposed to be a girls' night with her and Britney, and Lindsay chased after them to get in the car. Even today, the stars continue to bring up old beef with each other, and it's gotten to the point where enough is enough and the two just need to put their past in the past.